All right, here we go. The interview nobody saw coming. After 5 long years, Lord Jamar, welcome back to Vlad TV, my first original regular guest.
Has it been that long?
It's been 5 years. 2020. Yeah. It's been a minute.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Well, let's talk about the elephant in the room. We got to start off with that. Why me and you stopped talking?
The elephant in the room.
The elephant in the room. Why don't you explain it from your point of view?
My point of view. At the time, you and I was rocking. You know, we was doing these interviews. We were getting great responses from the people. They were getting a whole lot of views and all of that. Boom.
Right.
We ended up having a relationship, you know, outside of the videos and all of that type of shit. You know what I mean? And
no Diddy.
You
got to put that out there. You got to be very clear these days.
And see, the fact that you say no Diddy, let me just say, like, whatever goes bad in your life, nothing can be worse than becoming a saying like no Diddy. Like
imagine someone saying no Vlad every time.
Whenever you have a bad day, that's what I'm saying. Whenever you have a bad day, just say at least nobody's saying no Vlad or
right.
no, you know what I mean? Like, because that would be crazy.
Right.
But anyway, all right, so I felt like we was cool. You know what I mean? We were friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
And while I was, from the beginning of doing your shit, I would run into certain people, and I'm not gonna name, it was all different kinds of people. But there would be a lot of people that would be like, I don't fuck with Vlad, da 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 da. And I'll be like, nah, you know what I mean? Vlad's cool, da da da, he's cool with me, you know what I mean? Like, and so I feel like I definitely used to stand up for you in a way, you know what I mean? Whether you knew this or not. So, when the Farrakhan incident came into play, and you took a stance that I definitely felt was the wrong decision, and I felt like in the past, you know, I had been somewhat of an advisor to you in certain situations, and you took my advice and it came out successful, right?
Yeah, I would agree.
So
you were like the big homie.
Right, so the fact that you was like not listening to the big homie, you know what I mean? And was just like, fuck that, I'm, you know, digging in your heels type of shit. You know, at first I was just like, okay, you know what I mean? But then it's like, people's coming at me now. Basically the sentiment is, see, we always told you about your man. Like, here he goes, doing that shit that we've been accusing him of the whole time. And I'm like, damn, Vlad, don't do that. Don't prove these motherfuckers right. You know what I mean? Don't do that. And at the time, for whatever reason, you know, you were dug in. So it was like, at that point, a stand had to be made, you know. Minister Farrakhan, regardless how anyone might feel about him, can't deny, you know, the works that he's done in the Black community and the reverence that the Black community has for Minister Farrakhan. So that made us say, well, you know what I mean? We need to do something, like, you know what I mean? Let them know that this is serious, bro. Like, what could I do? You know what I mean? Go up to you and say, yo, you better fucking do this? Like, no. So it's like, let's see if we could do a squeeze play and fucking see where his values are. And we felt like, especially me, I felt like I was an asset, okay, to your channel, to your growth, and all that type of shit. And I saw that Godfrey was an asset as well. So I said, 2 assets, let's see if this will help sway his decision. Because now it's not just the Farrakhan stuff. You got 2 dudes that you're saying is your friends and are business assets as well, and we're telling you, bro, apologize. And you're like, you know, and then, you know, I know in my last conversation, it got to the point where, yeah, I was talking strong, like, nah, like, yo, you need to apologize, like you need to apologize. And so now I know that probably, you know what I mean, made you feel like, oh, you know, well, I'm not gonna be bullied now into apology, you know. But yeah, that was the thing. And then it was like, yo, and then you still was just like, I'm willing to sacrifice y'all, my association with y'all, your friendship, all of that, for whatever you felt like you were standing on at the time.
I think that's a fair description of what happened. The whole thing started with a video that was altered, where it made Farrakhan appear to say something, but there was a later part of the interview where he kind of clarified it. So it's not like I purposely lied on Farrakhan. It was a video that I was tricked by. And this video had millions of views. And this was before Twitter would say, oh, this video is incomplete, you know, have the community notes and so forth. This is 2020. So I made a statement about it and I retracted it and I took the part of the video down. But in the process, I made things a lot worse because I was having conversations with people who I thought I can confide in, and then these conversations start turning into videos. And then everything started to just snowball. I was going through a cancel session for the first time in my life. I've gone through 1 or 2 since then, and I know how to handle it a whole lot better. But at that time, I didn't know how to handle it. I was freaking out. Keep in mind the time that we're in, the start of the pandemic. Everything is shut down. Everyone's stressed out. No one knows how they're going to make money. No one knows if they're going to die or get sick. People around me start dying. K-Slay died, Fred the Godson died. Like, it was people that I was connected to. This mafia dude I interviewed died. And, you know, I would, you know, when I spoke to Willie D, I said, yeah, and I had, you know, people in my ear that I was listening to, but ultimately it was my decision. I decided to just buckle down and be stubborn about the whole situation. And yeah, that last conversation you and I had, you know, with Godfrey on the phone, and just to be clear, the way the conversation started was Godfrey, as you had said, was like, okay, let's just take a week or 2 break. And you were like, nah, we're not taking breaks. And it seemed like you convinced Godfrey to take a harder stance than he was trying to take in the beginning. Mm-hmm. Keep in mind also that the conversation started with Godfrey was like, yo, people are in my DMs threatening me and because of my association with you, and I'm scared right now. So I was going to call him afterwards and say, hey, listen, let me pay for your security because I don't want you to get hurt over some shit that I'm responsible for. But then later on, when everything went to hell, me and him stopped talking as well. But yeah, it was a situation where you guys were taking a hard stance with me, and I didn't want to feel like, yo, I'm not going to be bullied, so I'm going to take a hard stance. We're all men on this phone call. Not to say that was the best way to handle it. I think if we had had a longer phone call, we probably could have come to some sort of middle ground.
To me, I mean, the simplest thing I think could have done, right? Because you said you were tricked by a video.
Right.
You could have said, listen, I saw a video. It was altered. I was tricked. I apologize.
That would have been the best way to handle it.
I apologize for my remarks based on the misleading video that I saw.
Right.
You know, Vlad TV, always hopes to report things accurately, blah, 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 blah. And we apologize for any inconvenience anybody was suffered. Boom!
Done.
I was gonna write this shit for you. Like I literally was offering you when I look back in the text and I'm like, yo, I'm offering to like, yo, bro, if you need me to like write something up for you I'll help you out with that. And yeah.
Yeah. But it turned into a whole clusterfuck.
It turned into tribalism.
Suddenly everyone started to kind of Avengers assemble against me. You know, like people I knew, people that I was cool with, you, Godfrey, my son. And I just felt like everyone was against me at that point. And so I started to just kind of sink in with the people that were still there for me. The Michael Jai Whites, the John Sallys, the Faisons, the Boosies, that all those people are still rocking with me. So I'm like, let me go to a safe place with people that are seeing me go through this and are still rocking with me. And that's what I did. I mean, you just stopped talking altogether for 5 years.
Right.
And it hurt because you were my friend.
Yeah. And to us and to me, you know, it hurt that it felt like you were turning your back on, you know what I mean? Your boys / the community that undoubtedly put you where you are today, which is the Black community.
I agree.
And that, you know, everybody was called, oh, Vlad is a culture vulture and all of that. You see? Like, don't do it, Vlad. Don't fall into the fucking shit. And somehow you fell into it. And I don't know, it's kind of a lesson in how we sometimes as humans just instinctively like go with our tribe. Like, you know what I mean? Like you're not a practicing Jew, right?
No.
But when something was said about Jewish people, you felt very offended.
Well, yeah, because before hip hop existed outside of New York, I was born a Jew. And the reason why I'm even in America was because Jewish groups in America got the government to agree to let certain Russian Jews into America in the mid to late 70s when I came over, I think 78. So think about if I was still in Ukraine, I would have a rifle in my hand right now, shooting Russians, if I even made it that far.
Right.
I am here doing what I do because of the Jewish community. And, you know, I had a bar mitzvah and everything else like that. I'm not practicing, you're right, but I've always been Jewish. I've never hid it. I've always been proud of my heritage. But to address what you're saying, I made my money and I had my success in hip hop, which is a black art form, which is mostly consisting of black people, and most of my guests are black people. So what you're saying is absolutely right.
Yeah. And so again, like, that's why it was just like, damn, like, how can I defend you? You made it so where it was just indefensible anymore. I couldn't defend you anymore of that. What was I supposed to do?
Yeah.
Like, for real, like, what was I supposed to do?
Yeah, and if you remember that last conversation, I'm like, listen, I understand if y'all can't rock with me because of where my stance is, I get it. It's cool. And different people took different stances. So for example, Willie D, who is probably the biggest Farrakhan supporter of anyone I know, to the point that he's been on stage with Farrakhan. He's had long conversations with Farrakhan. He admires everything that Farrakhan has done. There's no asterisk by it. He really is 100% in awe of what this man has accomplished. His stance was, listen, I'm not going to do Vlad TV, but I do also understand your point, and we're still friends. And we're going to continue to be friends. And we continued to be friends during that whole time. So when it got time to me being ready to actually do the apology, I felt that Willie was the proper place. You know, his podcast was the proper place to do it because of not only our relationship, but also I knew it wasn't going to be a softball interview, right? If I'd gotten with someone who really was ambivalent about Farrakhan, he would have just skirted past a lot of the topics. Like Willie, I knew was going to press down, and that's fine. That's what I wanted. And I made it clear during the interview, but I remember you did some with Art of Dialogue where you felt that it was just done because of a promo run, because I was promoting something or whatever else.
It felt like maybe.
It was, me and him had been talking about it for like maybe 6 months at that point, before I even thought of doing the masterclass situation. But it had to be a situation where we have to actually do it in person. And he's never in LA, and I've never been to Houston, essentially. See what I'm saying? So it's like, all right, we got to figure out, I got to get to Houston and do it. But I want to, you know, other things have to be put in place in order for me to make that trip and everything else like that. So I was like, all right, cool. I think I found the perfect moment. And I told him, I said, cool, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do this media run, but I'm not going to talk about it until you and I meet up. And nobody pressured me. My business, you know, this is 5 years later. Vlad TV is fine. There's no financial pressure. There's no social pressure. Most people had forgotten about this situation. I did it because I felt it was the right thing to do. That's the only reason why I did it. I could have gone through this whole media run and not did it. Nobody would have said anything. I could have skipped Willie's show.
And so to me, it felt like when you did finally apologize, it almost felt like fucking Eminem. Like, you took us through this whole fucking shit, bitching and moaning the whole time, and then for him to say, well, I am a guest in hip hop.
Some white people shit right here, man.
Like, what is it? Yeah, what is it about y'all that your fucking ego will not let you just fucking immediately say, you know what?
Well,
you're right.
To be fair, through my other cancel sessions since then, between the Princeton professor and the Marlon Wayne situation, I learned from the past. And once I got my head around the situation, within a day or so, I publicly apologized and put it to an end and spoke about it in interviews and so forth. You know, I learned what I did wrong the first time around, and I humbled myself moving forward.
So how do you feel about, you know, your decision to you know, Because really, it was your decision.
Right.
We haven't spoke in 5 years because of your decision.
Correct.
So how do you feel about that now?
Which part?
The part of like standing on that to the point where we haven't talked in all this time, and now we just ended up speaking.
I think it's unfortunate. And in full disclosure, so people understand what's happening, you reached out to me first. Mm-hmm. After the apology, mind you. Mm-hmm. But not right after, maybe a month later or something like that, because this just happened recently. Mm-hmm. You texted me first, and then we started to text a little bit back and forth, and we got on the phone, but you actually put the first foot forward.
Right, because I was having reflection because my dog just passed. My little, he was a puppy when I first brought him up here.
We'll show the video of you and the dog right now. Yeah.
And, he just recently passed. And I don't know, it's just you flashed into, like, him being on the seat and all that shit just flashed in my mind. And I was like, I don't know, it just kind of made me think about you. So I went back to some of the text, because I saw your apology and all this type of shit, and I wasn't necessarily happy with it upon first glance at it. Mm-hmm. But then when I looked at this text, and I'm seeing our interaction of the shit that we were saying even prior to this, like when it first was happening, and I'm like, damn, like we really was fucking friends. And then you said some shit in there that made me be like, okay, he did kind of get it. You was like, I know you may be taking some, I know you're saying this out of love or some shit you said, mm-hmm. And I know you may be, I understand that you motherfuckers may be coming at you type of shit, basically. Yeah. I'm paraphrasing. I don't remember exactly what you said. Huh. But that right there, I don't know. I just saw it, and I don't know. I just immediately liked it or loved it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. Then I saw that's what came through. That's what came in. Like, I'm liking a text, and I'm like, and that was, I don't know. It was just kind of like an automatic. Yeah.
So
thing,
like so that I respond, I'm like, what's this about?
When you see a text, I know, right? Yeah. When you see a text that you fuck with, I be in the habit of sometimes I don't text back. I'll just text the emoji or whatever the fuck they got in the on the iPhone shit.
Yeah.
So that's what I did, and then when I did that, you hit me with the question mark, like,
yeah, like what?
Huh? And you hit me right back. I was like, oh, okay.
Well, because you don't expect that. You expect you liked a 5-year-old text.
Right.
That was the first interaction. Yeah. You liked a text I don't remember sending. It was 5 years ago. So this came out of nowhere. I'm like, I don't even know what this is referencing, But we texted, and then, you wanted to get on a call, and it took me a couple days to find a slot of time where I knew that we could talk without me having to run, go do something else. And but I didn't know how I was going to get into it, how this was going to work, because I was sort of prepared one way or another. This is going to be cool, or this might be on some bullshit. And either way, all right, here we go. But when we first started talking, you weren't on some bullshit at all.
Because I never been on no bullshit. I never been on no bullshit. And you know that, Vlad.
That's true. And people like to say that, like, see, Vlad always refers to people as his friends, like Jamar. Jamar wasn't really his friend. He just stopped looking at industry people like they're his friends. None of them are his friends. And I never took it like that. I thought, like, no, I'm still going to have friends in the industry. And I do consider the Jamar and even Godfrey at the time were my friends. It just didn't work out. It doesn't mean that everyone is fake. Shit just doesn't work out.
See, I'm just a man of principles and morals. Like, you see what I'm saying? And we don't have a lot of those left, And there's certain shit that, you got to set certain boundaries at time, and let people know what you're about. And, sometimes there's sacrifice that comes with that. Whatever it might be, but if you really about the shit that you say you about, yeah, then you got to do that. You know what I mean? So to me, in my mind, I just felt like, you know what I mean? Me and my community was being disrespected, and I can't stand by that. Can't sit and stand by that.
Look, man, leading up to that situation, had multiple NOI member interviews, prominent people in the NOI, as well as, Malcolm X's daughter and so forth, all the related. And plus, you're on all the time. You're 5%, which is an NOI offshoot and so forth. So I never had any sort of animosity against this group. Even use these guys as security sometimes, and, so forth. So when, all this happened, it was suddenly painted that I'm suddenly a certain type of way. And it was like, nah, I'm not really like that. But the problem was that I was choosing not to say anything about it. And that, I think, was a mistake. To the point where I would do interviews, I'd be like, no Farrakhan questions. And everyone would respect that. If you notice, I've probably done about 40 interviews since that time. You've never heard it mentioned ever, because I've always, I'd pull people aside and be like, yo, listen, no questions about family, no questions about Farrakhan. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is what I'm, respectfully asking ahead of time. And people are like, okay, cool, So I didn't address the shit. So people were running around and creating stories about this situation, which were not always accurate. Because people would have conversations with me and start making videos, and the videos were like, nah, that's not what I said. Or no, that's definitely not what I meant.
But based on your actions,
what and the
people are getting from
right. And the fact that I'm not responding and I'm not actually speaking about it. And that's something that I've learned not to do moving forward. Like, as I went through other shit, I would just, okay, let me address it. And then in interviews, in my own interviews, other people's interviews, go ahead and ask. Let's talk about it. The Princeton professor situation, let's talk about what happened. I'm cool. We'll talk about that. Marlon Wayne situation, let's talk about, this is what happened. Yeah, I was an asshole. I apologize. I still don't feel that anyone in the world has paid him that type of money for an interview, but that's his own business. And I was just being a jerk about it. You see what I'm saying? You asked me for 30% for all the past interviews. Was that sort of a Marlon Wayne's reference, sort of, in a way? Because that was the same percentage he wanted on top of the 40.
I don't know.
40K.
That was just running something up the flagpole and seeing if it fly. But here's the thing, and I know you're acting standard. I'm not going to give you 30%. Here's the thing, right? And this is like a white people thing that shouldn't be. Right?
Okay.
Sometimes there's what's legal and like what's on paper, and then there's what's morally right. Right? You would say stuff like, oh, he signed a release and all of that type of stuff. Yeah, you're right. You're right. And legally, you don't have to pay nobody nothing. But black people, original people, we don't go by these papers and all this type of shit. You know what I mean? We go by what we feel is like true justice, like moral justice. So that being said, if somebody helps you build something up, and I guess this is almost like, some of the argument that people have for reparations and shit like that. If we've helped you build something up, to the point where it's positive cash flow and all of that type of shit, and you're not asking for 30% of VladTV or whatever the case may be, you might be asking for whatever percentage that's negotiable for your particular interviews.
Right.
Hang on, let me just say, if you were to do that, it would not break the company. Just like Because that was one of your things that you said about reparations. If they were to pay reparations, it would break the economy.
That
and all
video
this type
still
of
goes
shit.
viral, but there are future videos after that where I said I was actually wrong for
Okay.
saying that,
Okay.
and I apologize.
Okay.
I publicly addressed that. Those with like multiple people, including D.L. Hughley. But unfortunately, you know, those don't get the type of play that whatever 6-year-old video still gets.
So
But yeah,
I'm just
I
saying,
addressed that.
I'm just saying, you know, they say that whoever got what was it? The Dutch got Manhattan, you know, for some mirrors and shit like that, like you know. And now people are like, you know, they played those Indians and type of shit. Like, is that morally right? You see what I'm saying? Like, even if the Indians agreed to it, is it morally right that they did that? And could they have went back and be like, you know what, we got this from y'all, and I know we didn't hit y'all off, but damn, we did really good, and you know what I mean? Just as a token of my appreciation, here you go.
Right. Well, here's the thing with that. I mean, you talked about this, but everyone should hear it. The company was doing well at the time, but it was nowhere near where it was later on. We had a massive amount of cost. Like this studio we're sitting in right now is $20,000 a month.
That's crazy.
And by the time you and I fell out,
And it's been that much the whole time.
It's been that much the whole time.
Right, right.
You see what I'm saying? That's just the New York studio. There's also the LA studio. There's also, I think at the time, something like 15 employees. A lot of expenses are happening. And at the time, nobody was getting paid for interviews. But a few months after you and I fell out, we did start paying for interviews. And you would have been part of that. You would have been the first one in line. In fact, this studio, at the point that we were building it, I was thinking, yo, Jamar and Godfrey got this podcast they're doing together. This would actually be a good place to do the podcast. You see what I'm saying? You know, I'm thinking ahead, like, yo, maybe that would be a way that we could do it and take it to the next level where they could do their podcast here with my staff and we could figure out some sort of situation around it. But then me, you, and Godfrey fell out.
Because we felt unappreciated.
But a few months later, everybody started getting paid. Lunel, TK Kirkland, Boosie, like everyone who you saw show up at Vlad TV every couple of months, every few months, a few times a year. Every single person, nobody's going to deny this, has been paid from the middle of 2020 to the middle of 2025 to this day. So it was one of those situations where it was going to happen, but you and I fell apart before it could.
I hear that. You know. I hear that.
I mean, but that's the actual truth. It's not a storyline. It's like, oh, if you were born on the other side of town. No, I mean, this was actually happening in real life. So it was one of these unfortunate situations, man, that became bigger than it should have. And I take a lot of the blame for that. And, you know, it was something that I learned a lot from. And I'm not happy it happened, but I'm also happy it happened because it caused a lot of growth. And ultimately, when you and I spoke, at the end of the conversation, I'm really glad that we spoke. We didn't even talk about doing an interview in that conversation. That was just Vlad and Jamar rehashing the past and seeing where we are conversation. The conversation about the interview came later.
Right. I said this conversation is not about money.
Right. And it wasn't.
You know what I mean?
It wasn't. But the points you made sense to me. So, and what I said even, because, you know, the Esquino interview, I'm sure you saw.
Not the whole thing, but yes, the portion.
That segment,
yeah.
The segment, I said, I'm not going to turn around and pay 30% or whatever else, but moving forward, He said, oh, well, if Jamar wants to do some move forward, I'm like, yeah, we could absolutely do business. And this is where we are right now, actually doing business.
Right.
And it feels good to do business because this is something I wanted to do 5 years ago.
But like you said, motherfuckers need to grow. Like, you know what I mean? And it was impossible to do that 5 years ago. But here's the thing also, you know, that whole episode showed me that a lot of people would just be talking shit. They're not really about what they say they're about. You know what I mean? Like they act like, oh, let's fucking, you know what I mean? Let's do this. Let's take over the fucking podcast game and some black shit. They're not really about that shit. They don't really want to do all the shit. They want to bitch and moan about a lot of shit in the comments, but they don't really want to fucking, you know, do what it takes to support some shit and to really have your own type of shit. Yeah. It pisses me off.
Well, what's interesting, and I'm surprised he hasn't mentioned it yet, but I'll go ahead and mention it first. Before you and I spoke, I actually ran into Godfrey.
Tell me.
A week or two earlier. And if you look, there's an interview that Godfrey does on Big Boy's show, you know, in LA, and I go on right after him. They're probably released within either the same day or, you know, a day or so apart, because as he's walking out of the studio, I am standing outside the studio. And, you know, I'm there, you know, my security's with me. So as I see he's coming out, you know, we both stand up. And, you know, he's walking by. I said, what's up, Godfrey? And first thing he does is put out his hand and shake my hand. And as I'm shaking his hand, I said, you and I need to talk. This was after the apology, by the way, and so forth. And I would have had that conversation with him right then and there, but we're at a radio station. Big Boy's my man. Like, he lives near me. Like, you know, I've met his family. Like, the last thing I wanted was to somehow engage in any sort of argument in the middle of this radio station and made him look like a jackass for inviting me over. But I looked Godfrey in the eyes, you know, as we're shaking hands, and I said, we need to talk. He goes, okay. And he runs off real quick.
Never to be seen.
Well, I know somebody that still talks to him, so that person gave me his current phone number. So I texted him and I said, yo, this is Vlad. We need to talk. And he never responded. And that just goes to show me that not everybody addresses situations in the same way. Because I feel like he was the most outspoken. He was the one that was doing interviews saying I should be canceled and talking about my family and stuff like that. So if anyone should have a conversation with me, I think it should be him. But clearly, for whatever reason, he doesn't want to have that conversation. And that's fine. He doesn't have to. But I'm gonna explain what the interactions have been with me and him, and that's 100% true. Can't be denied.
Hey. Yeah. I can't speak for him.
Well, you and him just had a falling out.
Yeah. I don't even want to get into it, man, because he's, you know, he's just not a solid dude, man. I always had I knew from the minute he said, oh, let's just take a break. And we discussed, we didn't say nothing about no breaks before we got on the phone with you that day. And then when he said that little break shit right there, early in the conversation, that was a red flag to me. And yeah, he's just not a solid dude. That's all I'm gonna say about that.
Do you still believe the earth is flat?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
I completely disagree with you.
Okay.
So you're in New York at 8 p.m. It's nighttime. You FaceTime someone in LA. It's 5 p.m. The light is out. The sun is out. How do you explain that?
The sun moves.
The sun moves, not the earth.
Not the earth, the sun. Just like it appears in your eye when you wake up in the morning and the sun is in the east and you literally see it move across the sky. You don't feel yourself moving, but you're watching the sun go from east to west during the day.
So it just bounces back and forth,
You
kind
see
of?
it move. No, it goes in a circle. It goes in a circle. Okay? So we're saying that the earth can be a level circle. It's just not a ball that you live on the outside of. Let me ask you, where does the yolk exist on an egg? On the inside or the outside?
Inside.
Could the yolk stick to the outside?
No, but
No.
the yolk of an egg and the earth, I don't think is a fair comparison.
Water always finds its what? It finds its level. It doesn't find its curve. It cannot curve on the outside of a surface. See, if you can't recreate something in a lab or some shit like that, and you're just telling us some shit, well, that's pseudoscience. That's some shit that you want us to take your word for us. We've never seen water stick to the outside of a ball as it spins. If you soak a tennis ball in water and spin it, what happens is all the water coalesces to the middle of the tennis ball and then shoots out in all directions. There's video of this. There's pictures of this doing that. But the magic sauce that they always talk about with these things, they say is gravity. So the magic sauce, which makes all water stick to the fucking earth, is gravity. Yet the same gravity allows, guppies to fucking swim and fucking a housefly to move around. It doesn't pull those things down, but it's holding thousands of tons of water to the earth. It's ridiculous.
Well, let me go about this a different way, because I'm not a scientist and I can't argue scientifical
but you can
topics.
you can use common sense.
But I'm not a scientist.
Right, but you can use common sense. And saying that you're not a scientist, right, is a way to try to exclude us from the scientific method. You actually are a scientist. We're all scientists. If you're able to observe something and study it, you're a fucking scientist, Vlad.
Okay. Let me say this. Who do you think is creating the conspiracy that the earth is actually round and orbits the sun to the point where every single government co-signs it, 99% of humans co-sign it, but yet you're saying there's a small number of people that are somehow, who know the truth, they're spreading this lie to the point where everyone swallows it hook, line, and
That's called
sinker.
the 10%. See, there's the 5%, the 10%, and the 85%. 85% of the people don't know what the fuck's going on. 5% know the truth, but there's 10% that know the truth that are using this to try to manipulate the 85%. This is what we've been teaching the whole time. But, those numbers apply in different areas as well, and this is one of them. The education system, come on, man, the education system. Who are these people? Some would say the Masons would be, candidates for this. Some people would say the Illuminati, however far back that goes. The people who, through history, have used their power and the ignorance of the masses in order to gain wealth and, influence, those are the people that do that. The people also, right? The people who oppose, and I know you've been going through this, but fuck it, I'm gonna say it. The people who oppose God. And I know you're on your atheist shit. That's a whole thing too.
That's cool.
But
I'll stand on that.
yeah, the people who are anti-God, and I don't mean an atheist, I mean, what's the opposite of God?
Devil worshippers? Yeah, I'm not that.
Okay. Okay.
Well, you know what's interesting? Shout out to Azalea Banks, because she texted this to me the other day, completely by coincidence, because she doesn't know that we're about to do this interview. Did you know that your name is referenced on a domestic terrorist website?
No.
Okay. On a West Point website, West Point is the largest military academy, there's a section called Combating Terror, evaluating the terrorist threat posed by African-American Muslim groups. There's a section about the 5 percenters. Let me read it to you. This is new to you. I'll send you the link afterwards so you can go through it. The FBI Introduction to the Freedom of Information Act file on Clarence Smith, a.k.a. Clarence 13X, reads only Smith was the founder and leader of the 5 Percenters, a notorious Harlem street gang. He was shot to death in 1969. Yet, as a lyrical sample from Lord Jamar, a prominent 5 Percenter and hip-hop artist, reads in his Greatest Story Never Told, Allah, Clarence Smith was assassinated in 1969. That case was never solved. His movement survived him. Today it's known as the nations of gods and earths. The 5 Percenters are just one facet of an indigenous Muslim evolution in the United States. Others, like Jama'at al-Fuqara, retains ties to Pakistan and are ideological affiliates of militant Salafist groups such as Al-Qaeda. What relevance do the 5 Percenters have to terrorism? I'm reading from the website.
Right. I mean, this is fucking crazy.
This is crazy, right?
The way they're trying
This
to
is crazy. This is crazy.
Intertwine some bullshit.
Right.
What do they have? I can tell you. Nothing.
Okay, well, hold on.
That's the
Hold
fucking
on,
answer.
hold on. So
I don't know
this-
what the fuck they're about to say. But the answer is nothing.
So, what relevance do the 5 Percenters have to terrorism? There is no material link between the 5% nation nor fringe groups like the Seas of David. You heard of Seas of David?
No.
And terrorism.
So then why bring it up?
Hold on. I'm not done yet. But they are on a graduating spectrum in terms of radicalization. To the extreme of the 5% nation is the highly militant Jama'at al-Fuqara that strongly rejects the tenets of the nations of gods and earth and instead adheres to a Salafist Islam akin to that of Al-Qaeda. Members may move toward the more militant and austere Islam of JF if they feel the 5 Percenters are ineffective at effecting societal change, or if they can be convinced that their doctrine is blasphemous per Salafist norms. Some of this stuff is a little beyond me. I don't know who. I've never heard of the Seas of David. I've never heard of Jama'at al-Fuqara. Do you know who that is?
No. I don't even like the fact that they try to intertwine our name with all of these other people that they feel are, on some fucking watch list. They just said that we wasn't, like I said the answer. I said the answer is none.
Right.
But still, it's like, see, that's trick knowledge. When they bring you in and kind of try to associate you, they didn't say that we was bad, but they kind of, why would we be even in that fucking report? Like, that shit pisses, I don't like that right there. That's not cool. How did you even find that?
Azalea Banks sent it to me.
Really?
Yeah, and she actually said she fucks with you. She's just like, yo, did you know your boy?
I fuck with Azalea Banks too. When I know a lot of people wasn't.
Me and her been talking like.
She used to say some shit. I ain't seen her in a minute. Matter of fact, where's she been?
Oh, she's in like Sweden right now. She's like in Europe somewhere.
She could do, she's one of those type of people that she could just pick up and go anywhere.
Exactly. Yep. That's Azalea. We've been rocking with each other last couple months. We started talking. But yeah, she sent it to me yesterday. And I'm thinking like, what are the odds? She sent this to me and I'm seeing Jamar for the first time in 5 years tomorrow. I didn't want to say anything because knowing her, she would have tweeted about it. You know what I'm saying? So I had to just keep it quiet.
I didn't tell nobody about this.
Yeah, I didn't tell anybody either. But yeah, it's And it's interesting when I read through that, because I'm like, look, I've not only you, but I've been around 5%ers now for a minute, and I have yet to see them be a criminal organization. I have yet to see them do crimes as a group. Now, you know, when I interview some of the old school Queens gangsters, they mention the various 5% individuals who are 5%ers that are doing crazy
Just like
shit.
there's individuals that are Christians,
exactly,
and Jewish and Muslim.
But I've
and all
never
that.
I've never heard of a 5%er drug dealing crew. I've just never heard about it. Have you?
Well, you know, people had influence. Not that they're like full five, you know, but people have, there's certain influences or whatever. You could say the Supreme Team could kind of fall under that.
Oh, because Supreme is a 5% term?
You know.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Maybe not the most stringent one, but, you know, the name Supreme, he ain't get that from just, you know what I mean? His government name is what, Kenneth or something like that?
Yeah, Kenneth Supreme.
Yeah.
Williams, is it?
McGriff.
McGriff, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, there was a lot of, you know, yeah, there was a lot of guards and stuff in Queens at that time in that area.
Well, but what I'm saying, though, is I've never seen them unified around the 5% ideology. It's not like, okay, we're going to sell a bunch of drugs and then we're going to blow up a building.
Right.
We're going to use the money to launch a terrorist attack.
Yeah, yeah.
We're not going to make a bunch of money and then, I don't know, build a 5% mosque and increase our numbers and try to recruit more members to get behind our
And we have a
overall
school, not a mosque.
ideology.
We have schools.
Okay, schools.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I'm not as familiar. But you see what I'm saying? I'm not going to... Supreme was not building a bunch of 5% schools.
Right.
Let's just keep it 100. He was buying Benzes and jewelry and
flossing
and you know, and selling drugs. You know what I'm saying? It
so
wasn't,
yeah, we don't. Yeah, we.
Al-Qaeda is not there to just make money for themselves. They have a purpose. We go blow up the Twin Towers.
Come together to do positive things in the community, not, you know, conspire to destroy the community, nor do we conspire to destroy society.
Right.
Like what you got to understand about the father-in-law is he worked very closely with New York City, like Mayor Lindsay and an associate of Mayor Lindsay's who was Barry Gotherer. So
this is Clarence 13X.
Yes, Clarence 13X.
AKA Allah.
Yes,
yeah.
Father-in-law.
Father-in-law.
So he, you know, he used to get resources from the city and the government and all of that. And he very much believed in working with, you know, municipalities in order to, like, he used to get free buses and shit to take the kids upstate to the parks and shit like that. And yeah, like, and the law school that we have right now was given to him by Mayor Lindsay, like it was like a forever lease type of thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, so there's a 5% school in New York?
Yeah.
Where?
In Harlem.
In Harlem?
Yeah. 2122 7th Avenue.
So who's the leader?
It's 126th.
Is there a leader of the 5%ers right now?
Well, see, there never was. After Allah, there was no one leader. You know what I mean? Because a lot of groups that have a leader, you know, they just take the leader out and now, you know what I mean? So, yeah, there's no centralized leader per se, but there's certain people that are more prominent, you know, as far as dealing with day-to-day business at the school and things of that nature. And that changes over time, you know.
Yeah. Well, we're right in the middle of the Diddy trial right now. Do you think Diddy is gay?
I mean, like we said earlier, if he's not gay, he's gay adjacent.
Yeah.
Okay? Because, you know, if you're going to take another man's yam sauce, another man's what you call it, liquid gold.
Liquid gold.
And rub it on your nipples, okay? Like, that's gay. It might not be super gay, like, you know what I mean? Like, actually having sex with a man, that's like super gay. But I should not have, the only fluids you should have from another man on you is blood.
That can be taken a few different ways, but okay.
I'm just saying, like, if you punch a motherfucker in the face and you get blood on you, you're not feeling like disgusted by it. Shit happens. You wipe the blood off. You know what I mean?
Fair
like,
enough.
But if somebody was recklessly skeeting and fucking got some fucking yam on your elbow or some shit, you'd be disgusted. And you'd want to fucking, you know, you'd want to draw blood now.
Well, look, this interview is already coming out by the time this comes out. Yesterday, I interviewed Punisher, the male escort that spent about a year, I think like 8 to 12 different sessions having sex with Cassie while Diddy watched in various capacities. And what he told me in the interview, but afterwards he did a better version of the same story. He would say that as soon as he would nut, she would jump up and do this sort of like weird sort of like run where she's not trying to spill the cum on the floor. You know, she's trying to like hold it together and run it to the other room to bring it to Diddy. And what he said was he was actually relieved during the trial when Cassie said that Diddy, you know, rubbed it on his nipples because he thought Diddy was eating it.
Oh.
He said, I thought I was eating it the whole time, so this was somewhat of a relief. I mean, it's not a total relief, but it's a somewhat of a relief. You know, and he was saying how, like, him and Diddy would never, he was instructed to never make eye contact with Diddy. He said the first time he ever made contact with Diddy, and this is after a whole year, was leaving the stand after testifying. Him and Diddy locked eyes for the first time ever.
So Diddy had him in deep check.
Deep check.
Motherfucker, don't even look me in my eyes.
He said, you can't look him in the eye. You cannot talk to him. You can't even address him. You have to pretend like there's not a dude with a Yankee hat jacking off in the corner. You have to somehow get your head around that. But, you know, you're being paid like around $2,000 each time.
Right.
So
now, wasn't he originally a dancer or some shit?
He was a male stripper.
Right, so they was getting paid $200 maybe, but then afterwards they were able to make more money if they did this shit?
Okay, so this is how it worked according to him, because I went into the whole story, right? So he's doing bachelorette parties all the time. People's homes, you know, certain clubs would do like a ladies' night, you know. And
how much you get paid for that?
Well, you make like it's all tips. It could be anything. It could be a few hundred. It could be a few thousand.
So they don't pay you just to show up and then plus tips?
Well, it depends. You know, he said his first gig, he asked for $50. And the guy's like, here. You know, and then later on, he had his own company and his own dancers and stuff like that, right? He said sometimes there were nights where he would do 4 or 5 different houses on the same night, like on a Friday, Saturday night, because it's not like there's a lot of people who do this. Let's just keep it 100. Plenty of female strippers out there. How many male strippers do you know? I don't know any. Actually, I know him now. I know one. So he said it was about a 1 in 10 ratio in terms of attractive women versus, you know, big girls and, you know, so forth. Older women and stuff like that, right? So 1 in 10 would be pretty cool, you know, attractive to the point where he might want to do something with them. So during the course of stripping, like, women are not the same as men. A man would be like, how much, you know, how long do I get? This much for an hour. Okay, cool. Women are like, hey, can you do a private dance at my place? You know, do you do private sessions? You know, something just more intimate than this? And he would understand, okay, that's what it is. So it'd be like $200 to come to your house to do a private dance. And if it turns into sex, then it turns into sex. And there might be some more money along the way. So this is how it started with Cassie and Diddy. He had a website called Get Punished. Cassie contacted him and said, listen, me and my husband.
I want to get punished.
Yeah. Let me tell you, I told him at the very beginning, I feel very uncomfortable as a heterosexual man calling you the Punisher. I just feel uncomfortable saying that because I know what it means. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is not the comic book character. Like, you talking about punishing some other shit.
The Punisher? Was it Big Pun the Punisher?
Yeah, I didn't know Big Pun.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Well,
I never met him.
so you didn't have to call him.
Didn't have to call him that. You see what I'm saying? I've never been in this situation before. So she contacted him, said, me and my husband are, want to have a little sexy whatever. He goes, okay, $200, cool. He showed up. She's wearing a wig. He doesn't recognize her. Because it's not like Cassie's a superstar. Especially you throw a wig on her, it's like, okay, here's this attractive woman. And Diddy comes in with a veil, like a burqa. And that's it. Just the burqa, nothing else.
Butt naked in a burqa.
Butt naked in a burqa.
Okay.
And they didn't give him like $2,000 that night. And then she would call him up every couple months. Sometimes it'd be like, sometimes it'd be like a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday because they'd have these multi-day freak off sessions. And she would call him up every time, schedule it every time, and pay him herself every time. Which is the interesting part about this case because she's basically engaging in prostitution or procurement of prostitution. She's the one that's making the phone calls and paying the money. Diddy's just there. But obviously she's being given immunity to throw Diddy under the bus. But she's just as guilty as he is. And in fact, it seems like she's more guilty than he is because she's the one that's actually doing it. He could argue and say, this was all her idea. You think I like rubbing dudes' nut on my nipples? That's all I can get.
What about the drinking of the piss? I didn't drink no piss. She did that.
Yeah. He said that they never did that.
Oh.
Not with him.
Oh,
but there was like
but she did do it, but
she
just
did
not
do
with
it,
him.
but just not with him. Because there was like 8 other male prostitutes. There was white dudes, black dudes, like. It's funny. I had my man Roger Bonds. He was Diddy's ex-head of security. He said, because I asked him, he's like, yo, I know the Punisher dude, that a local Harlem dude. It's like, why would Diddy go with a local dude? Who do you think for something like this, he would try to
he might
go
not
out of the
even
fishbowl?
Researched it like that.
Yeah.
So Cameron asked homeboy, so tell me, was the pussy good?
I asked that same question.
Because, and did he give a real answer this time? Because if you nutted, right? That makes me say,
well, okay, and that's what I said because at first it started off with okay, he showed up, him and Cassie oiled each other up, did a little bit of masturbation, by themselves and with each other or whatever. Then it turned into sex with a condom, and eventually turned into sex with no condoms. So I'm like, okay, in the words of Cameron, was the pussy good? Well, just like I said, I couldn't really tell because there was so much going on. I'm like, you just told me you were having sex without a condom. He said, yes, but at a certain point, they required me to pull out and I would have to basically jack off on her vagina, like on the outside. So then she could run over and give it to Diddy.
But still, you're still not answering the question. Because
still,
when you're in it,
you feel it.
Okay, was it tight? Was it loose? Like, give a fucking real answer here. Stop with the fucking coy shit.
Right.
Like
he was saying there was so much pressure to perform because keep in
that
mind
he just could not concentrate on the pussy
he
at
said
all.
This. He said he has never ejaculated without actually using his hand around them. Every single time. Listen, we've all pulled out and busted on a girl's back or whatever else. He said that never happened. Every single time he would have to stop, pull out, and then basically stroke himself until he was able to ejaculate.
I don't even like hearing all this shit, to be honest. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the fact that we're fucking even listening to niggas start stroking themselves and all this type of shit. Like, all of this shit is fucking gay. Like, they fucking really have normalized some gay shit. Like, I was telling you.
And some cuckold shit.
While I was telling you outside, I said, listen, man, we like, everybody's like, yo, this shit is super weird. He's ordering up male prostitutes to fuck his girl, and he's watching as he jerks off. And then I thought to myself, well, what's different than watching porn? Like, when you watch porn, you're watching a guy fuck a girl, and most people are jerking off while they watch porn. Well, some people use it as a sexual aid.
Yes.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
But some people jerk off like, you know what I mean? Like the jerk master. And
well, I'll tell you this though, on the day that you watch some porn and they have the technology to squirt a bunch of man fluid on you, along with the scene, then I would say it's pretty much the same thing. But up until that day, there's definitely a level of separation between what Diddy was doing, where a dude's nut is being rubbed all over his nipple.
What I'm saying, that's the after effect. Now that's taking it, and that's...
Imagine that.
That's because
you watching porn and suddenly
that's because the dude is right there. Some of these dudes, if they could conduct their own fucking porn, like fucking it seems like Diddy was doing, he just had enough money to make live porn.
Right, exactly.
You see what I'm saying? Instead of having a VHS,
no, I get it.
He could just have live porn. And not for nothing, I think it might have been like hotter in his mind that she's not a porn star, but he's making her do porn shit. You know what I mean? Like this pretty girl who looks kind of innocent, because when she first came in the game, I was like, damn, Cassie is bad. Like, and I'm not.
Have you seen that person?
Maybe once or twice.
People get on me on this. I've seen her in person multiple times. She's a pretty girl. I'm definitely never gonna say that she's unattractive or anything else like that. But I've been around Beyonce. Like, you can't compare the two.
I mean, she's not voluptuous like a Beyonce.
It's not even voluptuous. It's just like, in person, she's pretty, but she's not like, oh my God, like I say, like.
Well, yeah, maybe I didn't see her. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I feel like I seen her in passing a couple times. I'm not sure. But all I'm saying is, when I first seen her come in the game, I was like, and how she looked on TV.
Yeah, she looked great.
I said, yo, she looks bad. And she looked like she had a little bit of innocence to her. Like, you see, but this is where looks can be deceiving. Don't get fooled by these innocent looking broads, bad looking broads, because look what the fuck she was doing.
Listen, this is a line that has been proven so true in my life and most people that I know.
Can't turn a hoe into a house.
No, not that line. It's a Kanye line. The prettiest people do the ugliest things on the road to riches and diamond rings. The most attractive people I've met in my life have been the most nasty, vicious, ugly people on the inside. Whereas people that are average looking, I feel have just been better people. That's been my experience. Well, you said that Diddy destroyed hip hop.
I mean, not single-handedly, but he pulled out some Jenga pieces out the fucking shit. You know what I mean? Like, but he didn't do it all by himself, no.
Well, yeah, you said that he was instrumental in handing the keys over to the vultures. He helped turn hip-hop into a materialistic, debauchery-based genre. He popularized ghostwriters and ghost producers. Your words.
And first of all, that was eloquently said. I didn't even know that was me. And number two, like, before him, when did an executive decide that he was going to make a record and shit like that and be serious about it? Russell Simmons made a record back in the days, Cold Rock stuff.
I got a better one for you.
Who?
Berry Gordy.
Barry Gordy made a record?
Barry Gordy made a bunch of records.
Did he?
He co-produced a bunch of stuff early on.
Well,
yes, absolutely. Look it up.
Whoa, no.
He was an actual, real talented producer.
And I mean, and see, that's different though. He was a producer and became an executive.
Correct.
Later.
Yes.
Puffy was not a fucking producer. He was a fucking,
Yeah, but clearly Puffy is a great executive producer.
Yes. But
Phenomenal.
what I'm saying
Phenomenal.
is,
You can't take that. You cannot take his musical ear away.
right. He
from
had
him.
he had a nice
He
ear
makes a
and all
final
that.
decision on this music, and clearly his
What I'm
ear is
saying
allowed
is
for
he
what
wasn't
happened.
an artist at all. And Barry Gordy may have been a producer.
He was a producer.
But he didn't come out as Barry. Once he was Motown,
Yeah.
at the head of Motown, he didn't now put out a Barry Gordy album,
No, he did
to
not.
my knowledge.
No, he did not. But he
Okay.
did. He was very instrumental in the production.
But that's
and
not what I'm
mixes.
talking
Okay,
about.
all right, fair enough. I just
I'm
want to say,
talking about
there are very talented musical
fucking,
people.
like Jimmy Iovine becoming a fucking an artist or some shit like that. Like you haven't seen no shit like that. Who?
Jermaine Dupri.
Jermaine Dupri was an artist. Jermaine Dupri was an artist who became a fucking executive. It's different.
He was a producer who put out Crisscross and later on started coming out with his own projects. He was starting to rap himself. He had his own albums. I think that JR actually breaks the mold.
I feel like
I think
he might have saw what Puffy was doing.
Probably. But
Yeah.
that's another one.
But then like so he didn't pioneer
And
it
So
though.
Def was
Puffy
a very
pioneered that.
successful label at that.
Right.
Not quite as successful
Puffy
as Bad Boy, but in the same
pioneered it.
vicinity.
Like if Dame Dash would have became an artist, even though I guess he does some stuff.
Kind of tried. I mean, you know, he's on the video dancing.
I'm just saying, like if he would have came out with Dame Dash and the Family, you know.
Yeah, but Jermaine Dupri had his own albums.
I hear you,
Yeah.
but it was after Puffy. It
True.
was after
Yeah.
Puffy.
You're right. No,
So,
Puffy
Puff inspired him.
Yeah, was it No Way Out?
He was like,
the
if I get,
album?
first of all, Jermaine Dupri, and respect to everything he's done, but Jermaine Dupri did a lot of biting from a lot of different people. He fucking, he
I'm
did.
not going to co-sign that.
Listen,
I'm not co-signing.
Listen, Tretch will tell you when fucking Crisscross came out, the way he dressed them, fucking, he was trying to dress them like a little naughty by nature type of motherfucker. When the Brat came out, he was trying to pattern that
Wait,
off.
was Naughty by Nature out before Crisscross?
Yes, they was. Yes, they was. Yes, they
Wait.
was.
Hold on. Crisscross is like junior high
Go
for me.
ahead.
Crisscross.
Look it
Jump
up.
Dates. Naughty by Nature. What? Which song? OPP. That was their first song.
I guess.
Okay. Naughty by Nature. OPP. Date.
Gee,
Bum, bum, bum. Gee, you're right. Crisscross came out a year after OPP.
Right.
You're right. No, you're right.
And I remember Tretch had a problem. I think he said, yo, Jermaine owed me some money and all of this type of shit. Because the way they was dancing and all of that, the way they was moving, they was doing some little like fucking Naughty by Nature type of shit. Like, but then they just turned their shit backwards. But they had on like the Dickie suits and all of that type of shit. And they was looking like some Naughty by Nature shit. So anyway, and then later on, when he came out with the Brat, he was very much tapping into that Snoop energy that
100%.
was rat-tat-tat-tat, and all of that type of shit. So when I say that he was biting shit, that's the type of shit I'm talking about. So he'll take what's popular and do the shit himself. You see? So what was popular at that time, Puffy made that shit popular as far as an executive being an artist. So he said, fuck it, I'll do that too. Not to say that Jermaine Dupri isn't super dope.
Let me think.
I'm just saying.
Dr. Dre
He
had his
knew
own.
the science of taking some shit and making it his.
Dr. Dre had his own album, and he rapped as well.
Dr. Dre has always been an artist
He's always been a rapper.
and then became an executive later.
Yeah.
This is the other way around.
Oh, executive first, artist later.
Yes. You're an executive
Right.
who's not known for rapping or nothing like that. You're known for having a good ear. But now you've got so gassed up and you see how you can push the buttons and how you've done shit behind the scenes. And well, shit, if I just get radio here, shit, I could put out my own album if I want to. Like,
Yeah, I mean, you got Biggie writing for you. You got the best producers producing for you. You get every feature you want.
and that's what was to stop him. You see
But
what I'm
nobody,
saying?
but let's keep it 100, right? Nobody has ever liked Diddy as a rapper. They've
Right.
tolerated him for certain songs,
Yes, they
but usually not
tolerated him.
because of him, usually because of the hook, the beat, the feature, whatever else. But I have never seen a top 100 rapper list with Diddy's name mentioned in it.
Because
I'm not even saying top 10. I'm not saying Mount Rushmore. I'm talking about a top 100 rapper list.
he's not
And
a
you
rapper.
can even go top 100 New York rappers if you even want to narrow it down even further.
You
And
can
Diddy
do
will not be
top
on that list.
300 and he won't be on the list. Seriously.
Right.
Because you don't think of him like that, even though he's made records. You don't think of, you could go, so many rappers, name this one and that one. I don't think nobody would be like Puffy. Like, they just wouldn't. And they would name Biggie early in the game, but they would never, I don't think it would even come to their mind to name Puff as a rapper.
No. You tolerate Puff because good beats, good features.
Yes. Well, you tolerate a lot of rappers like that too, but, you know, that's a whole other
Puff is probably the most prominent of that, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's one of them, yep.
Well, you said that Diddy tried to play you over a woman that you were seeing?
This was a long time ago, man. This was probably pre-Bad Boy Puff. He might have still been Uptown Puff.
Okay.
I don't fully remember, man. I just know he was in LA. And this was some broad, man. I only knocked her down like once or twice, you know what I mean? But she was like a model or whatever the case may be. And yeah. And it was just like, you know, I wasn't sweating her or nothing like that. But he tried to, like, at the same time, I didn't know who she was fucking with, nor did I really care. But he tried to come up to me in the party and be like, yo, I told homegirl to go with you. And I'm like, what? Like, you trying to play me right now? Like, you're trying to let me know that, yeah, I know you fuck with homegirl, but you don't know that I fuck with her. So I'm gonna let you know right now.
I'll let you have her tonight.
And I'll let you have her tonight.
But I'll have her tomorrow.
But now keep in mind, like, coming up, because he grew up in Mount Vernon. I don't give a fuck all this Harlem shit you talking about. I always seen him in Mount Vernon. Coming up, ain't no way he was getting more broads than me back then. Okay? Like, there's no way. Like, and so in my mind, the dude that's been getting broads way before the brand newbie and shit and all of that, and knowing that he's probably just getting broads because he's famous and got money now, I just was thinking, like, the audacity of this man to fucking try to fucking play me right now. So I just fucking left him and her where they stood, and I bagged something else that night and was successful in my endeavors. But yeah, he tried to play me with that. He tried to play me.
Did you interact with him over the years?
Just, you know, what up?
What up?
There was a 2-week window when him and Andre Harrell was managing Brand Nubian.
Oh,
Like
I didn't know this.
In the very beginning. This is before he was with Rush. Like, you know, so they're from Westchester, and you know what I mean? So, I don't know, somehow we ended up at the Uptown offices, and, you know, they said they wanted to manage us and all of that, but we was on some, like, I don't know, we used to be on some bullshit. Like, Pooh Bah had us feeling like, you know, we need to extort all the executives, and, you know what I mean? Yo, okay, I came down here, I need money for a cab back to New Rochelle, I need this and that, you know what I mean? And they was looking at us like, huh? What? like y'all is wilding, and yeah, that relationship didn't last very long and shit.
Well, you knew a girl that died at the celebrity basketball game.
Yes, Sonia Williams.
The Diddy was behind.
Yes.
A few people died that day.
Yes, I think like 9 people.
Yeah, it's
But this
crazy.
particular girl, shout out to my man Sonny, her brother. She was from New Rochelle. And at the time, I believe she was dating Young MC.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just interviewed him a couple months ago.
She was dating, really? Whatever. No, I'm sorry, not Young MC. Father MC.
Okay, totally different person.
Totally different person. I'm sorry, y'all.
I've never interviewed Father MC.
Yeah. Father MC.
Yeah.
Who was on Uptown and all of that type
right.
of shit. So she was, I guess in those circles some kind of way. Sonya was mad pretty back in the days. And she unfortunately was at this basketball game and got caught in the crush. I was at the big game too, but we were already in. I think they actually brought us in a different way.
You were at that game.
I was at the
game.
You
saw the stampede.
I saw this fucking stand. I saw them. We were already in there, so I'm sitting in the bleachers and shit, probably smoking an L or some shit. And I see people like coming through the fucking the door and just being laid out. They're just laying people out on the side. And at first, you're thinking people are just passed out type of shit, And then you found out, some of these people is dead type of shit. It was crazy.
I mean, I interviewed Gene Deal. He said he was one of the security there. And I don't exactly remember the story, but it has something to do with there's too many people that wanted to get in. So they ended up padlocking one of the doors.
I see that the people was already crowded out there and it was crazy. So I finagled my way in there, me and Slicknam. I said, I told Puff right then and there, I say, Puff, if they don't do a boxing one outside and get these kids off the door, somebody gonna die tonight. He said, Gene, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. You just handle the stars once they come inside. So I said, yeah, all right then. So I did a walk around. So I walked around the top of the floor, went down the steps and went in the gym, and then came across the gym, and I seen that you can go up the steps and be right there at the front door. So everybody was coming in. You seen Dougie Fresh, Red Alert, they was on the mic. People start coming in and everything. It was cool. And then when LL Cool J and Mike Tyson showed up, that shit must have went pandemonium. They must have broke through the first doors where the FOIs was and came to the door where we was inside at. And it was a glass door that they were crowded at in the glass door, and people were steady pushing the people through the door, whereas that they pushed the people so hard that the glass broke and people fell through the glass doors at the top of the stairs.
And
I feel like the door, right? Not to cut you off, but I feel like the door, there was a door and then there's steps that led down to the door, right? And I feel like in order to open the door, you have to push it open towards the way that the people are coming in. You see? So if everybody's pushed up against this door, a lot of motherfuckers, you might not could have even opened the door from the other side.
I heard it the other way. I heard that you do open the door out, but they had padlocked the door because they didn't want people letting their friends sneak in.
Right.
So they threw locks and padlocks. So as something happened and people started to rush out, they go to that door and they got stopped. And then there's all these people behind them pushing them, and suddenly people are getting literally crushed and dying because of this. And this is why Diddy had to take the blame for it. I mean, ultimately, I don't think too much happened to him. I don't think he went to prison or anything else like that.
No,
but he was ultimately responsible for those deaths that occurred. Him and Julie something like
Jessica Rosenblum.
Jessica Rosenblum, yeah. Rosenblum?
Yeah.
Rosenblum, yeah.
I think it's Rosenblum.
Yeah. That was like his partner.
And I, you brought her up. So what I observed, because she used to run the party scene back in the days, you know what I mean? And what I observed that day that kind of made me kind of sick to my stomach, right? When all of this shit was happening, when people were finally coming through the door and they're laying people out on the side and you knowing something shit is crazy, at one point I see Jessica Rosenblum with a security guard walking with the money box, looking nervous as a motherfucker. And it just felt like she was gonna protect that money at all costs type of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was just like, wow, people are dying over there. You know, is that what you worried about right now? Is the money box? And you scared that somebody might rob you right now?
Yeah. And your friend died that night.
Yes.
Yeah. Sad.
Well, you know, she was an acquaintance of mine. You know what I mean? She was a little like maybe a year younger than me or something like that. So we went to the same school and all of that. I knew her and all of that. But I was closer with her brother, Sonny, you know?
Well, Kanye made a song called Cousins, where he talked about giving his male cousin head at 14 years old.
Now, he was 14, and how old was his cousin?
Like 11.
So Kanye was the predator at the time.
Absolutely. Now, here's the interesting part about this story. I know a lot of people. So I talked to some people that actually know Kanye. And I asked them, okay, look, did this really happen or is he just trolling? Because this is something he would troll about. Kanye's not beyond saying something like that.
Which is crazy that you would troll about some shit like that.
But they all told me, no, this actually happened. This is yeah, like we know the story.
Homosexual incest.
Yeah. Look, I started watching porn right around the same time, maybe around 14 years old. I could tell you, never made me want to suck a dick. I could tell you that with
here's the thing,
with full honesty.
Here's the thing. He said what he found in his mom's drawer was different.
Was gay porn.
Right. What the fuck is your mother doing with gay porn?
Yeah, that's weird.
That's super fucking weird.
That's weird. Gay male porn at that. Now,
right.
He tried to say that his mother was sleeping with his female babysitters and stuff like that, and there was a bunch of lesbian stuff going on in the house. But what was she doing with
Why
male?
would a lesbian woman want to see gay porn of men?
Yeah, that's I don't know, maybe she had a boyfriend that was gay or something. I don't know.
Because he said his pop shit was tame. His pops had like Playboy or some shit like that. It's his mother's fucking collection that corrupted him. That's what he said. All right. So now, first of all, yeah, I got introduced to fucking nasty books and shit when I was at a young age, before 14, probably like 8. But there was no gay shit in these books. You know what I mean? And I feel like if they was, we wouldn't have wanted to look at those.
Nah.
We'd have been like, nah, fuck that shit. Like, where's show me the other books. Get that shit out of here.
Yeah, I feel you.
The fact that he was going through that and then, I don't know, something in him he was curious about that. To the point where he looked at it enough to where he was like, hey, let's try this.
Yeah, let me second
And
it.
now that's fucking crazy. Like, that's just insane because I was trying to fuck broads.
Yeah, me too.
I was naked humping at a very young age with these broads. Like, I thought I was fucking at a young age. Oh yeah. Like, I'd have naked girls, but my shit is in between their thighs type of shit. But you don't fucking know. You know what I mean? And you humping and shit, you dry, well, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
You dry humping.
Kanye just wanted to give a man head, so he did it. And, I mean, I've heard other rumors here and there that some of the artists that Kanye signed, the male artists, they was kind of messing with him in that way and so forth. And it wouldn't totally surprise me if you really think about it, because, like, look, you an aspiring rapper. Here goes Kanye West. All you got to do is give him some head, and he'll give you some beats and a record deal maybe.
Listen,
Some of these dudes are already kind of, undecided. Yeah, all right, I'll go do that. Like, won't be the first time in the music industry this has happened.
Listen, if you're doing something at 14, right? I feel like by 14 you are who you are.
Yeah, I knew I liked girls. I definitely knew I liked girls by 14. I knew I liked girls by like.
And you also knew
by
that
10,
you liked
9, 8.
You know that you liked Hellman's as opposed to Miracle Whip, and you had a lot of like tastes and distinctions about certain shit by that age. And you know, I said this in the past, I don't feel like he just went cold turkey after Cuzzo. You see what I'm saying? Like you just stopped after that? Like, and what made y'all stop? What made y'all stop? You said, no, we gotta stop doing this. This is wrong. We're cousins. You know what I mean? Like, well, I'm just curious. Like, what made y'all stop?
What made y'all stop?
And then when you did stop, that's what I'm saying. Did you just stop with him and then continue with others?
I don't know, man. This wasn't in my bingo card for 2025. It was so weird because it's not just gay, it's incest, it's molestation and so forth. I mean, because like legally, well, they're both underage. Both underage means there's no consent from either one of them. Technically, a 17-year-old cannot legally have sex with a 17-year-old. Technically, because the other 17-year-old is not giving consent, you know. I understand what you're saying, but you have to look at it a little bit, you know, top down. A 14-year-old engaging in homosexual activity with an 11-year-old, I consider a straight molestation. Okay? I don't care if they're both underage. I feel it's straight molestation. If I was a DA, if I was a DA, I would prosecute that.
First of all, if they were in, let's say, the foster care system, or if they was in a group home or some shit like that, and the motherfucker did that, like, they definitely be in trouble for that shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the 14-year-old would, you know what I mean? Like, probably catch a charge or some shit like that. Like, motherfuckers, you know what I mean? Like, and when you 14, you know what the fuck you doing.
A 14-year-old,
when you 11, you know what the fuck you doing too.
That's a 9th grader messing with a 6th grader. That's a high school freshman dealing with someone who just got to junior high.
Nah.
A high school freshman with someone who just got into junior high.
Yeah.
Imagine.
That's a good way to put it.
Yo.
That's a good way to put it.
If you were in high school and you're dating someone in 6th grade, everyone will look at you crazy. Your girlfriend's in 6th grade? What the hell's wrong with you? Okay, if she's
and I feel like there was fat motherfuckers that had shit like that back in the days.
Okay, now look, if you're in 9th grade, your girlfriend's in 8th grade, okay, yeah, because we were in junior high together and I'm a year older. Okay, it's a little weird, but okay. 9th grade and 6th grade is insane. Is insane. I didn't know anyone that was doing that in my high school.
Yeah. Yeah, nah, that is insane.
That is insane. 9th grade and 6th grade. That's the equivalent of 14 and 11. He molested his cousin, man. And the crazy part is like, his cousin, I guess, is doing life in prison for murder.
And see, to me, that's some dry snitching like a motherfucker. Like, he might have just fucked up his whole bid by doing that.
Oh, you know that.
Like, he might have been in there like, yeah, Kanye's my cousin. You know what I mean? And getting that from that and all this type of shit.
Oh, yeah, I heard gold digger before everyone else.
Oh, you're the cousin that he did that with?
Yo, imagine this, right? You've been bragging to everyone in the yard.
You just fucked up my whole bid, Kanye.
You're bragging to everyone that Kanye's your cousin and well, whatever. You know, that's your little stripe in prison. You wake up one morning, you know, get up, go to the chow line. Everyone's looking at me. I wonder why. You know, the gay table sitting there licking their lips, you know, and giving out like, yo, what the hell going on? Then you get that tap on the shoulder. Hey, man, what's up with your cousin? What do you mean?
What are you talking about?
Man, you know what I'm talking about.
I gave my cousin head. You ain't heard the song? What song? Got something we need to play for you, homie. Got something we need to play for you.
That messed up the whole 10 years of his life at that point.
Like, for real. Like, either he had to become like a monster and start just fucking mad people up and being like, and what? You know what I mean? Or he might have fucking became somebody's bitch that night. Like, you know, like, Yeah, that shit.
It's hard to get your head around all this. But
That's
yet
what I'm
people,
saying. It's just too much gay shit in like mainstream society.
I mean, I guess the one thing I can say though is, we were talking about this, we were smoking earlier, is that like, people like Diddy and Kanye, for example, Kanye's next album is supposed to be called Cuck. He even tweeted, "I'm a Caucasian." That they're
And
putting.
you're proud of that.
He's proud of that. That they're putting, and I'd heard the cuckold stories about Kanye even before he said this, because he was trying to hire like.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No, there was this girl. Me and Adam talked about this. This pretty blonde porn chick, and Kanye, I guess, reached out to her to get a guy to do, to basically sleep with Bianca. And he was like, "Yo, I wanted the biggest dude you could get. I want to do this bigger than Dredd. Dredd is like this popular, black porn star." She's like, "I don't know anyone bigger than Dredd. Like, this is the biggest dude I know." Like, no,
What do
I
you
want
mean,
bigger.
big body wise?
No.
Cock wise?
Big penis wise. He was trying to get like the biggest penis he could possibly.
What's wrong with these sick? Wow.
Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot to get your head around. It's a lot.
What?
It's a lot. I don't know, man. I don't know. But when you look at, it's interesting because, me and Roger Bonds were talking about this yesterday. When you look at the trial, there's some interesting stuff going on. I remember there was this one of the witnesses said, might have been his assistant, Sarah, has said like they were hanging out with Lauren London this one day. Mm-hmm. Right. And I think it was Capricorn. Yeah, it was Capricorn, his main assistant, and Lauren London were hanging out. And he was like, "Yo, watch this. Cassie, come here. Walk in, sit down, stand up, turn around, go get me some coffee, bring it back, lift one leg, bark like a dog." Like, giving her commands like she's a robot. He's like, "Yeah, see, this is why y'all bitches ain't got a man like me, because y'all ain't willing to do this type of shit."
You ain't willing to be put in deep check. That used to be the term.
Deep check?
Yeah, you don't remember that back in the day?
I heard it. I remember it. I haven't heard it in a while, but yeah.
That's what I'm saying,
because
because dudes don't have their girl in check no more.
Well, but and this is what Diddy was doing with Cassie reminds me of what, like, for example, Kanye is doing with Bianca. Walk out with your titties out. Walk out with your ass out. Don't wear nothing. Be naked around my kids. Like, just a bunch of shit that
See,
she's
they're
probably
exploiting the deep check. See, back in the days, deep check was like, you stand there, you don't move, don't say nothing. I'll be right back. And the girl would just stay there, not talk to nobody. And he's like, damn, he got her in deep check. She wasn't fucking with, you know what I mean? But it's not like he would exploit that. Now go suck his dick and all this type of dumb shit that these guys, once they get the power, see, power has to be in the hands of the right individual or else it's going to be corrupt. You know what I mean? It's going to get corrupted. If you're somebody who's insecure inside and all of that and you get a certain kind of power, it's going to make you do corrupt shit. See, these was men of, back in the 70s and all that type of shit. These were men of a certain constitution that you don't find anymore. And then with the women's revolution and all that deep check shit went out the door. Because I'm not listening to you. I'm not going to tell me what to do and all that fucking shit. Which leads us to, where we're at with a lot of shit as far as relationships are concerned. But back in the days, certain women would listen to their man to the T, even if it made them look, if it made them look weak or something. I don't know.
This is what I realized about relationships and women. And people will get mad at me when I say this. That's fine. I'm cool with that. Women, a lot of women these days, a lot of women I've dealt with over the years, they like to not feel like they're doing things in traditional roles because they want to feel like they're equal to you. You know, they don't want to do certain activities that are traditionally female because they feel like they don't really have to, and they should be treated as an equal on all levels. And that's fine. There's lots of relationships that could work that way and so forth. But what I've realized over the years is that the women who say, you know something, I want to be a woman. I want to do certain traditional things for this man. I want to take care of him. I want to cook for him. I want to clean for him. I want to make sure, you know, I want to take care of him sexually. I want to have babies. I want to, you know, I don't want to work. I'd rather be at home, you know, taking care of the house and so forth. That I've realized that those type of women, you actually end up appreciating more, and you do more things for those women that don't demand a bunch of things. There's a bunch of the women that are constantly demanding things. It just gets tiresome after a while. When you don't ask for things and you just prove your worth through your actions, most men and humans in general are more appreciative, because I feel like people in general reciprocate.
Yeah, absolutely.
They reciprocate. It's just instinctual. If someone does something for you, yeah, there's messed up people out there, but most people will say, you know something, I got to do something to return this favor at some point. I'm going to keep that in the back of my head. And you get this type of beef with women sometimes, and you're just like, I don't know why I'm going through this with this person. If they take a more traditional role, I'll actually appreciate it more and give this person more of what they really want. But
listen, we in a society where everybody feels entitled to a lot of shit.
To everything.
And, you know, especially these broads out here. I see these videos and I'm like, is this real? Like, these girls really like, well, you took me on a date. How come you not gonna get my nails done? I just met you. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, but they be dead ass serious, like talking this shit. I'm like, yo, I'm glad I don't, you know what I mean? Like, don't have to deal with this type of environment, like, because, you know, girls was on some shit back in the day, you know what I mean, when we was running around, but not like today. These dudes got some shit. Like, these girls expect you to cash app them just to say hi and all kind of crazy shit.
Well, I think it's because of exposure. If you're on Instagram and you see a girl that looks pretty much like you and she's on a private jet, and you're like, well, shit, I need to get with a dude that can put me on a private jet. How many humans, I've never flown private.
Me neither.
And I really got money, like, but I've never flown private. It's too expensive. But yet I'm going through my timeline, or I go through my search, and I'll find 20, 30 women that are on private jets. Now, granted, these days, private jet companies will actually rent out private jets that are not moving to social influencers.
Right.
Like, let's say $200 an hour, you can go in and take a bunch of pictures in a private jet to pretend like you're actually flying. The jet's on the floor, you know, not moving, but it looks a certain type of way. I get that. But I think legitimately, some of these girls really are on private jets and have dudes that you never see. Right. This is why you tag the sponsors all over the comments and whatever else. The dudes don't want to be involved in this picture for whatever reason. And the girls that are looking at this aren't thinking, okay, what cost is this coming at? What are these women doing to afford to be able to live this type of thing? Because unless you're prepared to do that, just go find that guy at your job.
Unless you're ready to do all that Cassie shit.
All that Cassie shit.
Transport fucking yam sauce from one room to another on your stomach, balancing that shit out. Fucking having dudes pissing in your mouth and all kind of crazy shit.
And I think, I remember I was talking to a friend of mine, you know, and she was saying something interesting. She was saying how, like, it's interesting how, like, with this trial, you now see these so-called pretty innocent girls are really getting slutted out, you know, behind the scenes, where you just assume that that's just not what... That's only like the really nasty,
the pretty innocent,
you know, the strippers and the porn stars and the chicks at the club with their ass out. Those are the ones that are really doing all this. Nah, like the innocent ones are actually doing all this as well.
or even the so-called ones that grew up in good households.
Right.
Like it's not
I
always.
mean, Cassie grew up in a good household.
This
it
is what I'm
seems.
saying.
Yeah, right.
Enough to where her moms had 20 G's to fucking pay when Diddy got mad and fucking.
Yeah, I don't believe this.
You don't believe that story? They say it was true. I mean,
you know, she said it was true, and I think there's a little bit of sauce on it because what does 20 G's do for Diddy?
it's just the principle. Bro.
I understand it's the principle,
It's
but
the
what
principle.
does what does 20 G's do for Diddy? And in fact,
It's not about what it does. It inconveniences. It's not what it does for him. It inconveniences her. It lets his mother and all of them know that he's not nothing to fucking play with. That your daughter fucking better watch her fucking step. I'm telling you, like, I believe that shit. I think he did it. But and then they said he gave the money back afterwards.
oh, he gave the money back?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He didn't keep it.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe that is believable. Okay,
Yeah.
right. If they put that in,
Nah,
but
he made her go through the hoops of sending him the money. He held on to it for a couple weeks and then sent it back.
Yeah, I think they had to take a second mortgage on their home or something like
Yes.
that. But then,
You see?
right? But here's
So
the
at
thing.
the
I
moment-
also heard that Diddy was giving Cassie's parents a bunch of money as well.
Probably.
So if you're giving them hundreds of thousands and you ask for 20,000 back, why are you getting a second mortgage on your house?
Because maybe they didn't have it at that moment.
Yeah,
People
No, I feel
spend
you.
money like
I feel
water.
you. Yeah, no, I got you.
So
You know, by the way, that Diddy made Cassie call him Papa. And at one point, I remember Roger Bonds saying how, like, he heard an argument where Diddy called Cassie's father, said, yeah, I'm her daddy now.
I heard something about that too.
Yeah. I know someone that saw it.
That's great.
What type of weird shit? The whole thing, I've never liked women calling me daddy. Never liked it.
It's weird.
It's an incest type of vibe. I'm not trying to have sex with my daughter. Like, I don't know why you're calling me that. Like, this is gross. Like, stop it. I've literally told women, decided like, oh, you're the only person I've ever heard say that. Like, okay, you mess with some weird dudes, but please stop. Literally, you every woman I've ever been with, you could ask. I've never liked the whole daddy thing.
I mean, if you think about it, and then on the flip side of that, a lot of motherfuckers, it's been normalized to call each other baby, right?
I call women baby.
Right. And they'll call you a baby too. Hey, baby.
Yeah,
hey,
I
babe.
would call me. I don't mind that.
But so if you think about it, you're now like verbally
Okay, I see.
turning each other into children.
All right, I got it. I never thought of that before, but
I know there's a lot of shit that we don't think about that we do in normal day, every day. That's what I'm saying with the fucking shit with Diddy where he's fucking jerking off. But it's the same as watching porn. Like you're watching two people and you're jerking off to it. And instead of having a mask, you're behind a TV or some shit like that. You see what I'm saying? Like, but he's
TV
just
can't
doing
squirt
it.
on you, man.
Huh?
I'm sorry, I got to bring that up. The TV can't squirt on you.
This is true.
All right?
Not yet.
The day the TV
Not
squirts
yet.
on you, I'm going to be like, you got a point, Jamar. On that day, we can have this conversation again. Until the TV squirts on you, until you can rub something off the TV on your nipples, you know what I mean? It's still different. It's still different. Well, you said that Shannon Sharp is going to prison.
Shannon Sharp?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I might have said that. Yeah, is he?
Well, you said that a friend of yours saw a tape of Shannon.
Right, that didn't look good. Where, it was like he said, he was saying, oh, put out the full clip. But apparently, I guess the short clip was going around. And in this clip, she's like, you're choking me, saying shit like that. Like, you're railing me in my ass. Like, stop, it's hurting me. She's saying shit like that in the fucking video.
Oh.
So, this is what I'm hearing. You know what I mean? So
That sounds kind of rapey.
but now he's saying that if you watch the whole video, she might have been like, yeah, telling him to do that, So listen, people don't know what's outside of the frame of these cameras.
No, I get it.
You see what I'm saying? So if I just frame something and just give you this little piece, just like you were misled about the fucking the shit,
Farrakhan thing, yeah.
it could have been something like that. I'm just telling you what he said he saw, and he said what he said. I don't know if there was more. He said, but what I saw looked bad. So, and he was like, he's going to jail. So I just was kind of going off of what the homie was saying.
Look, there's a legitimate danger when it comes to certain types of men messing with women they don't know.
Right.
And especially if you're engaging in questionable activity. Now, all right, you're married, you got a side chick. The worst will happen, your wife find out, and there might be some drama. She might divorce you. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's not the end of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Go to prison like Diddy, like Harvey Weinstein, like Bill Cosby. That's some end of the world type shit.
Yeah.
R. Kelly, end of the world type shit. Your life is over. R. Kelly is probably going to die in prison. Harvey Weinstein's definitely going to die in prison. We'll see what happens with Diddy. I personally think that he's already paid Trump for the pardon. That's what I think is happening. That's what I think is the big plan. Okay, I'll lose over here, but I got this. Because what's interesting is I interviewed Roger Bonds yesterday, and I asked about the Trump thing. He said on at least 4 different occasions, he took Diddy to go meet with Trump, and they would be in that room for like hours. Him and Trump security would be outside just chopping it up, waiting for them to finish. But they were like, they have a real relationship. You're not in the room with someone for 3-4 hours if you don't really like
And
them.
he's already said that Trump said he would intervene if he feels
if he's
like
being
Diddy's being mistreated. Yeah.
He's in prison. Of course he's being mistreated. He's not getting the same treatment as he was outside. So clearly he's being mistreated. Pardon, the end. Thanks for the $100 million. All cash.
They need to let Diddy get his fucking hair dyed because this shit turned gray like a motherfucker fast. Like, god damn, bro.
Yeah, prison will do that to
Without his fucking
stylist and
his
all that.
accoutrements, he's all fucked up in there.
But, look, like, if you just want to have sex with a female on the side, it is what it is. If you are engaging in BDSM, if you're taking drugs, if you're...
Like hard drugs.
Hard drugs, yeah, you smoke weed. If you're doing cocaine, Molly, popping pills, if you're doing anything with someone underage, forget about it. But if you just want to have sex with a girl, people want to focus on she's 19 and he's 50-something. I feel you. Some people might have a problem with it, but that is legal. There's nothing wrong with that part. It's legal. The problem is some of the rapey stuff. And she texted him, I told you I didn't want anal and you still did it anyways.
And then there's a phone call where she's like, something, well, I don't want to get choked, so I guess I'll... And he's like, you lucky. After what you did, you lucky all I did was choke you or some shit like that, he said to her. And it's like, damn, bro, you got a lot of fucking... This looks bad, man. This looks bad.
Yeah. I hope he gets through it at the end of the day. Me and Shannon, we historically have not gotten along, but I still don't want to see anyone in my industry go down like this. Especially because it appears like it was a consensual relationship from the outside looking in, more or less. It appears like it was consensual. You got this rich guy, you got this young girl. I'm sure she was happy to get the type of gifts that he was giving her. That shit wasn't for free. You know that.
Hell no.
He definitely was buying her stuff.
And she could have been with all that freaky shit just like Cassie was.
Yeah.
She could have been with the rough stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
oh, yeah, no. One of the dudes that took the stand that peed in Cassie's mouth said that she asked him to do it. Listen, I had an ex that wanted me to pee on her. I've said this publicly before. I did it. It was weird. It's weird. I didn't get it. I'm like, okay.
I did it. It was weird.
Yeah, we went into the shower. You know what I mean? Yeah, we went into the shower where we'd have to clean up afterwards, and I peed on her. And I'm like,
I didn't get anything from that. Yeah.
I asked her to explain. I said, what are you getting out of this? She said, well, it's an intimacy thing. It's like it breaks down the barriers where like we're so close that we could even pee on each other. And I'm like, yeah, I'm cool. Like, all right. I did it. I'm done.
I'm proud to say I've never done that.
You've never done. Well, you never met anyone who asked you to do it.
I don't think I would want to do it if they asked me.
Man, I was in my 20s.
I'm like, you nasty.
I did it.
Nasty.
But here's the thing. It's like some women are into this. I think Cassie was actually into a lot of this stuff. If she really was just doing it just for Diddy, she was fucking Kid Cudi on the side. She wanted to date Jay-Z afterwards.
Huh? What?
You hear about that?
No.
No, one of the assistants on the stand where Cassie was like, well, you know, if I break up with Diddy, who could I date? Is Jay-Z available? Let me get another rich old guy.
Whoa.
I'm not trying to go backwards.
Is Jay-Z available?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Here's what I think will happen also. A couple of things will potentially happen. Some of the male escorts will end up suing Cassie. Because now she's worth $30 million.
Right.
She got $20 million from Puff and $10 million from the Intercontinental. She's no longer the broke victim. She's now mega wealthy.
Right.
$30 million. And I even asked, I asked, Punisher yesterday, I said, you going to sue her? He goes, no, I'm not going to sue her. But then again, he's already said things on the stand. But then again, no, he could say, well, you know something? Actually, I was exploited by her. She hired me to have sex that I did not enjoy having, and I'm exploited, and I want $10 million. All those escorts will get in line. Because think about it, like Cassie was given immunity to get on that stand because she could be charged with the same shit that Puffy's being charged with.
Well, he has a RICO. This is some RICO shit, right?
Well, she was part of that RICO. She was getting prostitutes and paying for them. He said that every time he got paid,
it wasn't
she
her
paid
company.
him. What's that?
It wasn't her company type of shit. Like, she wasn't using her resources.
One of the things that Cassie potentially is going to get sued, and she's probably going to have to settle because she has admitted to being involved in a lot of this stuff, right? You don't get immunity from lawsuits just because the feds gave you immunity. That's a whole different ballpark. That might happen. I think that will probably happen. What else might happen is her husband might divorce her, and I'm sure they don't have a prenup. He could walk away with $15 million plus child support plus alimony. It's about to be a city boy summer. City boy summer. City boys up this summer.
Everybody's
shout out to Kevin Federline.
Everybody's thinking. Everybody's thinking. I know this nigga didn't know all of this shit before coming to court. I'm talking about Cassie's husband. Like, I know she might have told him some shit. Like, yeah, we were having freako, but all the pissing in the mouth and all like.
Well, he FaceTimed her while she was having sex with Diddy.
Yeah, but not while she was getting pissed in the mouth.
No.
You see what I'm saying? That's a whole different fucking animal right there. And that'll have you. He can't. Pissed in your. Oh my.
Don't be kissing our kids.
We gotta talk about this when we get home. Like. Right. So my fucking children got fucking somebody else's piss in their DNA somewhere.
No. It doesn't work that way.
Listen, that piss becomes, when you drink somebody's piss, this is what I hear, that it becomes one with your fucking cells.
Well, I mean, technically, if you ingest anything, it's somehow. If you eat a hamburger, it somehow becomes.
So she has fucking somebody's urinal DNA.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, and she gave that to the children.
Right.
I'm just saying,
so
in my mind, that's what happened.
So her new baby is a pissy baby, according to you, basically. Like, okay, all right, got it. Look, I personally feel like, and they even, like, when Kid Cudi got cross-examined, when he was like, yeah, when I met up with Diddy after he broke into my house and firebombed my car.
But he didn't know that he said he felt like he did it, but he didn't know that he did it.
Right.
So
I guess someone told him, or it seemed like there was some sort of conversation.
That's still hearsay. You see?
You know what I want to know? I want to know what Diddy did to Kid Cudi's dog. Because that's the big question.
They said they locked the dog in the room.
No, this is what I think really happened.
They said the dog was traumatized.
Right, exactly. Here's what I think happened.
Uh-oh.
It's a female dog, right?
Uh-oh.
Diddy walked in and said, you want to fuck my bitch?
I'm going to fuck your bitch.
Come here, lassie. And of course, Diddy always keeps a bottle of baby oil in his pocket, right? And here's the thing, right? The dog tries to escape. But the floor is too slippery. The dog is sliding around, right? Falling all over itself.
Oh, you got this script written already.
Diddy finally corners the dog.
You're not going nowhere. He got special grips on the anti-baby oil skids on his sneakers.
Exactly.
So he can fucking,
He's prepared.
He can move around
He's
on that.
prepared, but Lassie is not. And that's just too bad on that particular day. That's why Cuddy was so mad.
And so you saying he hit the dog with the take that?
Take that.
Damn.
Yeah, that's what really happened. And look, when Cuddy said he met with Diddy, and then Cassie walked in, he said, "Oh, she's playing both of us." I think what Cassie, that's what Cassie ultimately did. I think she played everybody. Because think about it. She is going to be the biggest winner when all the dust settles. She'll walk away with $30 million and everyone feels sorry for her.
But not fully. I don't think everybody's feeling. I think that's starting to change. People are starting to see that they're feeling like she was a willing participant. You got $30 million at the expense of everybody knowing that you was a piss drinker, a fucking cum fucking mule. And, you know.
Cum mule.
And it's just, I mean, if that's worth $30 million, you see what I'm saying? For some people, I can't, you can't pay me enough to be any of that. Like, you see what I'm saying? So is she really the winner? I don't know. Like, it all depends. Like, can she try to go off into obscurity and just raise her children somewhere and this doesn't follow her? Like, her children's going to get to a certain age and they're going to know, people's going to know who their mom is, And that's not cool. Well, that's not something that you want to put your children through.
I get it, but at least they're going to be growing up in mansions. And, they could potentially just go move to another country.
Right, but how many rich kids fucking are depressed and, like, the money doesn't cure
Monica
everything.
Lewinsky, she moved to France.
Right.
Sometimes
but
you
you
just
think
leave
that
the
she
country.
don't follow her out in France?
Not as much as America.
Yeah, but
every
I'm sure
so
every
often,
now and then. Monica Lewinsky, yes.
Every now and then. But when you're rich, you live behind gated communities. People are paid to be nice to you. You don't really have to.
Right.
Intermix with the common people all that much. The waiter at the restaurant ain't gonna tell you that. He gonna get fired.
Right.
So you see what I'm saying?
But the people in the gated community are gonna be like, that's Monica.
Yeah. Well, when you have 30 million,
and people that look down on how you got your money too.
When you got 30 million though, that's an amount that's hard to spend in your lifetime. You could have mansions in like 10 different places. You could fly private. You know what I'm saying?
See, here's the thing. I feel like after being around Puff for so long, 30 million might not be hard for her to spend. She might start spending like she's fucking Puff Daddy.
Potentially.
You understand?
So here's a clip I saw the other day when Shine was on the Breakfast Club. When he got out, he rolled around with Diddy a little bit. He said they were in Paris. It was him, Diddy, and Cassie, probably some more people. And he said he saw Cassie get $500,000 worth of gifts from Diddy. Diddy spent $500,000 on her with just random gifts and so forth.
I saw that.
And then they got together. He's like, "Yo, man, I'm sorry. The lawyers was in my ear. I should never separate cases. Here's $50,000." And he's thinking like, "I did 10 years."
Right, and this is all you give me $50,000. You just bought this.
Yeah, and you banging
$500,000 on his broad.
Yeah, you banging this young chick who hasn't done anything for you, and she gets 10 times the amount. At that point, he said, "I want to give it back to him, but he
I
needs
was
the
going to
money."
say, did he take the money? Right.
He took the money. And that's the thing, like, that's what Roger kind of explained in our interview yesterday, is that Diddy will not pay you what you're worth, but he'll keep paying you. So you end up getting, you have to have him at that point.
He'll piecemeal you.
He'll piecemeal you. So it's like, look, for example, like, if you do a booking for someone, getting 20% is considered somewhat normal, right? I got you a club walkthrough. You get, Diddy was getting like 50,000. Up to 100,000 if it's like All-Star Weekend or whatever. So like 50,000 would be a regular booking when he was hot. Give him 50, you get 10, he get 40. Well, Puff was like, nah, y'all get 5%. So Roger would have all these bookings for him, and it'd be like, well, I mean, 5% of 50,000, only 2,500 instead of the 10,000 I really deserve. But shit, it's 2,500, and they would do shit like, all right, so Diddy would have like a show like in Germany or whatever, so he'd give him like an extra like 20 tickets, so he'd like go get someone to sell the tickets outside, and that's how they make the extra money. But then Diddy was like, yeah, I want half of that.
Wow.
He was just always just crazy cheap.
Really?
Yeah, this is why the 20,000 from the parents, it surprises me, but doesn't surprise me. Because he just does weird, petty,
to me,
nickel
that's
and
some
dime
power
type
shit right there. That wasn't about the money at all. That 20,000 with the parents, that was just to show the power that he has over their daughter, and you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you said The Game is a better rapper than Kendrick Lamar and makes better music.
Oh my God, here's the thing. Can I clear this up?
Go ahead.
I'm doing a live. I'm not even thinking about Kendrick Lamar in The Game. Somebody does a super chat and they say, who do you like better and who's had more of an influence on LA? The Game or Kendrick Lamar? In a quick, thinking about it, when they said done more for LA, first of all, I know Game's career is longer than Kendrick's career. Of
course.
So he's been around LA longer to be able to do more stuff.
Yeah.
So automatically that makes me think, okay, I'm thinking, well, he's older. I've heard of him interceding in beefs and all kind of shit like that. And he's really tried to put LA culture on his back, from what I have knowledge. So in a quick response, and if I'm gonna be 1,000 with you, and yes, maybe I should, as somebody who's supposed to be conscious, maybe I'm supposed to like Kendrick's music, but there's something about Kendrick's voice that just doesn't resonate with me. I like Game's voice better. I like the type of beats that he chooses better. That's just me.
Yeah.
They're both dope rappers.
Yeah.
But in the instance of being asked that, I went with Game, and all hell broke loose.
Well,
you better keep Kendrick out your mouth. Don't be talking about LA and this and that, and you're not from LA. How do you know about it? Bro, it's not that serious.
right. Well, that Game just put out his own top 100 LA rapper list.
I didn't even get to see that.
Right.
But I did see that he put that out.
Yeah, and he actually put Kendrick above him.
Okay.
Yeah, so 1 is Tupac, 2 is Snoop, 3 is Ice Cube, 4 is Kendrick, 5 is Game.
Okay.
And then Corrupt, DJ Quick, Dr. Dre, Eazy-E, Exhibit.
Right. But just because he put Kendrick above himself, that doesn't mean in my book that I have to put Kendrick.
No, I get it. When I look at this list, I wouldn't put Exhibit at number 10. There's lots of people I'd put above Exhibit. Like Be Real, for example. I'd put, Be Real.
I got to look at the list.
Ice-T.
Well, Ice-T as far as impact, but not as far as a rapper.
I like Ice-T as a rapper.
I'm just saying,
I feel that
Exhibit is a different, Exhibit is a rapper.
Well, he came a little bit later. The rap style kind of changed. Ice-T was more early, so it was more simplistic. But if you talk about who I feel more as a rapper, it's definitely Ice-T.
Yeah.
I've never really connected to Exhibit as a rapper. Like the whole raspy voice persona thing never quite gelled with me. Whereas Ice-T, like the Power album or the OG album, like I really played those albums a lot.
Well, I just want to say for a record, they're both great dudes, and I've had many experiences with both of them. And so when it comes to that,
it's all good. But my point is, you can never come out with a list, even with like 2 people that everyone will agree on. But no, you should put him above the other one. Oh, you're crazy. You don't know anything. Much less a top 100 list, people are going to go insane. I put out lists myself, and everyone argues with me.
Everybody got their own criteria.
Cool. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And my criteria might not be your criteria.
Well, yeah, because in that list, he said Tupac, Snoop, Ice Cube, Kendrick Lamar, The Game. But you've actually said that you put Ice Cube above Tupac.
Probably.
I can see an argument for that. Ice Cube is one of my favorite rappers, period.
Right.
I put
you
Ice
know,
Cube
people
above
are very
Jay-Z.
emotional. See, Tupac was an emotional guy, and people are very emotional about him. You know what I mean? So everything, you know, and then the fact that he passed away, people want to give him that respect.
Yeah, when you
and
pass away, you go into a different
that's
category.
what I'm saying. And so it's like people just kind of like, yes, he was dope.
Yeah, like
He was dope.
Nipsey was essentially an underground rapper when he died. He had no major hit songs. He was not doing big nationwide tours.
Right.
People respected him, and they felt what he was doing and the principles he stood on was very dope, which is why when he died, he got the type of farewell that he got, and now everyone lists him and so forth. But when he was alive, he wasn't being ranked like that, unfortunately. But once you die, suddenly, boom, you go up 20 notches.
Right. So
Tupac went up 20 notches. Biggie goes up 20 notches.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, God forbid if something ever had happened to Ice Cube back then.
Oh,
they
yeah,
would have
people
fucking. He would have been out of here.
Yo,
Like, you know what I mean?
If Kendrick or Drake die right now, people will be saying that they're the greatest of all time. Tupac would go underneath him because there's a younger generation of people who experience them
Right.
in real time, as opposed to, oh no, my dad liked Tupac,
Right.
my uncle liked Biggie. You know, and you've actually said that Biggie can't be the GOAT because of his limited catalog, and you said that Tupac's catalog is better.
I mean, it's just bigger. It's just
Way bigger.
It's just way bigger. Yeah, it's more.
Yeah, but
He
Pac,
got 2 albums, even though the second one is a double album. People will say
it's 2 albums.
it's still 2
2
albums.
bodies of work.
Exactly.
And he didn't have a bunch of extra stuff floating around.
Exactly.
Biggie was different, right? Like, because I remember I interviewed Stevie J recently, and I told him about this interview I did with C Gutta, and I remember that line because I brought it up to Gutta. I said, "So this line, you know, my N-word Gutta kidnaps kids, fuck them in the ass, and throw them over the bridge." He said, "Man, I hated that line so much." That
Right.
me and Big were roommates, and for 2 weeks I didn't speak to him. We would walk past each other, you know, in the living room and not talk.
Yo, why the fuck would you say that?
But the thing about Big, he said that once he laid something down, that was where it was gonna stay. No force in the world was going to get him to change his lyrics, to redo it. And I mentioned that to Stevie. He goes, "Yeah, that's once Big lays it down, that's it. You're not getting anything more out of him. You're not, there's no collaboration. There's no, hey, let's redo this. No, this is what it is. We're going on to the next song." So he didn't record a lot. He put a lot into his recordings, whereas Pac, and I'm friends with like Edie and, from the Outlaws and so forth, and Napoleon and so forth. Like,
Yeah, he was doing like 5 songs in a day.
They all told me that he really had this. He felt he was going to die soon, and he needed to get as much music out as possible. There was an urgency about him, and it's like, even he said, working with producers, like, if you can't make a beat fast enough, get the fuck out of here. This is why the Johnny J's of the world, who were not the best producers, but they were fast. They were fast. Hit him up, Johnny J. Every single person on that song is dead right now except for Edie.
Damn.
Including the producer.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's kind of weird.
Yeah. Think about it. Tupac.
That's not a fun fact.
It's not a fun fact. Tupac. Fatal. Johnny J. And Edie. Edie's the only person that's living right now. And that's one of the biggest songs ever. And everyone, Fatal died from a car accident. Tupac obviously got shot. And Johnny J, I believe, hanged himself in a prison cell.
I feel like for to be talked about in a classic type of status, you should have at least 4 albums, I feel like that's a good,
I've heard this before, is that once Big died, Puff really took it upon himself to create this greatest of all time aura around Big, because he was going to benefit from it a lot. Because I believe he owned a lot of Big's publishing. at the time.
Yep.
I remember Biggie even talked about how he needed money, so he just sold Puff most of his publishing for like $50,000 or something, and he said, "Yeah, well, I regret it, but I needed the money at the time, so it is what it is. I signed the deal; it was fair." So, do you think that Big would have gone down as the greatest of all time if someone wasn't pushing that narrative?
No. I think he was the greatest of his time in New York, of that era in New York. Like, he was one of the greatest of his era, but not of when they hit it with the all time, because you got to understand, Big definitely was on a run for a second. Like, he was on a stupid run. Like, everything he was dropping was just retarded. And then he get on remixes, and it was just a fucking...
Right.
So that's what makes him, like, the greatest of his time. But yes, I feel like it was a psyop, okay, where let's put this out into the psychological, let's just put this into the algorithm and make it a thing. So I heard people start to say, "Oh, yo, Biggie Smalls the greatest of all time." Immediately when they started saying, I was like, whoa. But then you keep hearing people say, "Yeah, Biggie Smalls, greatest of all time, greatest," and then it became a thing. It became a thing. And people love to parrot some shit that they heard. So, and then it sounds cool. Well, Puff the Millionaire said it, so fuck it, I'm gonna say it too. Yeah, it must be true.
Okay, this is an interesting question. Who had a run like Biggie? When you look at the amount of time and the amount of heat behind him, because I feel like ever since Juicy came out, it was just like one after another. Like, he never stopped, never took his foot off the gas. Between his own songs, the remix, like the One More Chance remix. Original one was but the remix was a monster. Then, the Flavor in Your Ear remix, and then 112 feature, and this feature, and that feature. Then the second album comes out. Going Back to Cali was a monster. Like, unfortunately, he died, and it stopped. But then, no, hit songs kept coming out after he died. So,
I mean, Jay-Z's run is quite a remarkable run.
Was it like Biggie's run?
Yeah, it was longer, probably.
Well, it was definitely longer, but I'm saying, well, who was shining as bright as Biggie for that amount of time coming out?
First coming out?
Yeah, because Jay-Z had to warm up a little bit.
He
Reasonable
definitely
Doubt
did.
was not like ready to die.
Definitely
it was not.
Wasn't. It
definitely wasn't.
And
it may be considered like that right now, but at the time, it was not.
Many would argue that had Big not passed away, the Jay-Z we know today may have not become the Jay-Z that we know. Because there wasn't really room for two kings of Brooklyn or kings of New York at that time, and Big definitely had the crown. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
Jay-Z
was definitely in second place.
So he definitely benefited from. He benefited from
Big
passing away.
No, I mean, look, like you could look at, for example, Tupac. Tupac started out very slow. That first album,
Strictly for My Niggas, was my shit. Like, I used to like that fucking album. Like,
I Get Around was on that, and that was like his first hit song. Yeah.
Okay.
I Get Around. That was the second album.
Because my shit, Strictly for My Niggas?
Yeah.
That was his second album? What did he have before that?
The one with Trapped, Brenda's Got a Baby, Keep Your Head Up. That was the first album.
That wasn't Strictly for My Niggas?
No.
Okay.
That was, hold on a second.
Strictly for my. That was my shit.
Tupacalypse Now was the first album.
Tupacalypse Now, yes.
Strictly was the second album.
I liked both of those. I liked both of those.
But here's what I'm saying. Tupacalypse Now, 64 on the charts. Strictly, 24 on the charts. Me Against the World, number one.
Right.
All Eyes on Me, number one. Don Illuminati.
So he didn't come out the gate on some number one shit.
Are You Still Down? And so whatever. The Machiavelli album, after he died, number one. And Are You Still Down? Another album after he died, number two.
Damn.
Still I Rise 6 was Still I Rise, the Outlaws album. Until the End of Time, number one. So he had 2 number one and one number 2 albums after he died. So yeah, Tupac's run was insane, but it started out slow. It started out slow. Biggie started out platinum relatively quickly. Who started out platinum and just kept a run like that? I can't think of anyone in hip hop. Tribe Called Quest didn't come out strong like that. De La Soul didn't come out strong like that. Rakim didn't come out strong like that.
Can't think of anybody at the moment. What did Nas' album first do?
Started a little slow. It went, I think, barely gold. That was the whole thing, was that, but it was bootlegged and there was a little more to it. But, well, okay, hold on. I did a Google search on this. DMX. Eminem.
As far as coming out platinum, straight up.
Platinum, and then the next album, platinum, and then, you know?
Well, some would say Eminem had some Slim Shady stuff before.
He had an EP he put out independently.
Right.
But then again, Biggie also had independent features he was doing. Like, remember the Who's on the Microphone, you know, with Heavy D. He had Dolly My Baby remix with Super Cat.
Yeah.
Puffy's rapping on that.
Right, I know.
With a weird raspy voice, like trying to sound like someone
I think
else.
Jesse West was writing his shit at that time.
Right. Party and Bullshit, once again, pre-album. Wasn't on the album. See what I'm saying?
Right, but it wasn't like a full, you know?
Yeah, I would say DMX.
DMX, yeah, DMX definitely had a fucking run.
DMX had 2 platinum albums in the same, no, 2 number 1 albums in the same year. Same year.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
Now that was, I remember thinking, God damn, that's crazy. Cause if I'm, you know, honest and real with myself, I would have wanted my group to have a higher output. Like, I feel like we was putting out records like every 2 years or some shit like that.
I looked at the discography. At one point, it was like every year, but then it stopped after the 3rd or 4th album.
Was it every year?
One for All was 1990. Well, okay. So, but then In God We Trust was 93, but then the breakup happened because Puba left.
Well, the breakup happened right after One for All.
Right.
So then,
but you guys had to regroup, I assume.
Yeah, I guess.
Figure, you know, it's not like a continuum. Okay, we're all gonna go back to the studio. No, we're missing. At the time, was the biggest member of the group.
Yeah, but it had been happening for a while. So
yeah. So In God We Trust came out in 93.
Right. You see,
which interestingly was funny. I noticed this the other day. One for All was 130 on the U.S. chart. And God We Trust without Puba was number 12, your biggest album ever.
Yep, I know.
And then a year after that, Everything Is Everything came out in 94. That's what I mean by every year.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
See, well, maybe that was me trying to put up the input, the output.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would have liked just to steadily, you know, because you got motherfuckers that got like 10 albums and shit like that.
Look
like,
at Boosie. He's always dropping albums. Just keep it, you know?
Fucking LL, like all kind of people. They got mad albums and shit. But
some hit, some don't, but
we
whatever.
Got like 5 or whatever. But yeah, at the same time, I don't know. I'd rather have less album because I don't like when you put out a album and then it don't hit type of shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but that happens. I put out interviews that don't hit.
Yeah.
Next day I'll have a new interview. I mean, it's art. I mean, however you want to look at it, you know.
Yeah.
I'll put it like this. The thing that really this struck me when I heard it, because I was reading Rick Rubin's book, and he said that as an artist, no matter what it is, you have to put out things for yourself because you don't really have control as to how the public will react to it. A lot of times it comes with things that happen outside your control. For example, I forgot who it was with, but I interviewed the promoter that put together the Jacksons reunion tour. It was supposed to be the biggest thing in the world. But what happened the day before the tour started? 9/11.
Oh shit.
No one could give a shit about
Jackson.
Jesus coming back and doing a reunion tour with Allah. You know what I'm saying? Like, people were not on that time. People were not talking about concerts. People were not talking about having fun. The two biggest buildings in America just came
They
crashing
actually
down.
try to make you feel guilty about having fun after 9/11.
No,
they were
it was
like,
especially
can we
New
go
York.
back to playing baseball and all this type of shit? Like,
Yeah. No, it was a grim time. So things happen outside your control. You drop an album the same day as Drake, you're going to have some problems getting those eyeballs, and those ears on that first day.
we had an album one year. I forget which one. You probably could look it up. But that same day, Jay-Z dropped, Tribe Called Quest dropped. They called it like some crazy day, like it had a name because so many big artists was dropping on that fucking day, and we were slotted to drop that day too. I think it was the Foundation album that happened on.
Yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it. And, but you don't have control over the way that people consume your art. But if you stay true to who you really are, I think it'll find a home. That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
And I've been putting out content now for like half my life. Well, even more than half my life. Yeah, more than half my life. So I get it. Certain things you put out and it goes crazy and you get all the accolades for it. Certain things you think are going to do great, they flop. The next day you get back in the lab, come up with something new.
The thing is, always keep showing up.
Keep showing up.
You got to keep showing up because, what do they say? If you don't take the swing or if you don't take the shot, then you're never going to fucking make you know what I mean? You're never going to make the goal or whatever, to hit the home run, whatever the fucking case may be. And just the consistency of always showing up no matter what, even after, hard shit, you go through some shit, you still got to pick yourself up and show up.
What I feel is one of the greatest tragedies in hip hop, there's been a lot, but one of the greatest ones, because it could have been avoided, was the Jam Master Jay story. I have not seen anything to convince me that he did not go back to drug dealing. Well, not even go back, but he went to drug dealing in his 40s after he had a legendary run with Run DMC, after he was a extremely well-respected person by everybody. Who didn't like Jam Master Jay? Everybody loved Jam Master Jay.
Everybody loved him.
He was a hero to all. He was getting gigs, like he was doing festivals and going overseas and he was making money, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't as much as he was making Run DMC, and he was still paying people's bills, and he wanted to be the man, and he wanted to be this. And the 50 Cent contract didn't work out for him financially all that great. And the Onyx contract, I'm sure got a little bit of money, but that came and went. And there's no new artists that are being developed. Okay, I'm gonna go with BMF and flip a couple kilos to just get back on my feet and whatever else. Next thing you know, you're being killed by your godson and your friend. The same dude that's taking pictures by your mural, talking about, I miss Jam Master Jay. Motherfucker, you killed him. I'm sure you miss him. Everyone misses him because of your dumb ass. But it's not just the young dudes. It's the middle-aged guys. They don't want to roll around in the Honda Civic. They want the Benz because everyone's seen them in the Benz over and over again. It's sad. It's sad, man. It's sad, especially if you find, once you find out what really happened, And
it's like the things that people will do just so that other people will have a certain perception of you. It's kind of crazy. Like, you don't care, most people don't care if the perception is real or not. They just want you to have a perception of them. And it's like, you risking your life and your well-being over what people think about you?
Yeah.
Like, fuck that. I don't want them niggas to see me in this kind of niggas can't. I usually be coming through in the I can't come through in the motherfucking Camry. Like, what would they think?
Look,
who cares?
I've been saying this for months. The same people that are on social media tagging Lil Durk with hashtag slide for Vaughn are the exact same people that are saying that he's an idiot,
right,
for actually putting a hit out on Quando Rondo and killing the wrong person, and now you're going to do life in prison. Not to say that's what's ultimately going to happen, because he's innocent until proven guilty. And then, his lawyer's an incredible lawyer, Drew Finling. That's my man. He's been here a couple times. But the same people that are putting a battery in your back to do something reckless are going to say you're an idiot when you actually do it and get caught. Because you will get caught.
Especially in this day and time.
Oh,
There's a camera every fucking way.
Everywhere.
You're not getting away with shit. I don't give a fuck if you did the killing in the bathroom somewhere, right? And there was no camera in there. As soon as you leave the building, camera, follow you down the block, camera. Like, they
back to your house,
back
camera,
to your
camera,
fucking
camera,
crib, dead ass. Like,
yeah, man. Listen, we live in a time where you can make legal money. You got the Kai Cenats of the world who have figured it out. You got the Mr. Beast of the world that have figured it out. There's people who play video games and earn a living just by playing video games and talking trash. I interviewed Neon, that young kid who's making, I think he made like 200 million by this point. Just
200 million?
Total. Yeah, that's what he said. Well, that's what he told Kanye. I don't know if it's true. Right. But I could tell you this. I interviewed him for the VladTV YouTube Masterclass, and he said that he spends $200,000 a month just in marketing.
Wow.
So, it's not that crazy to hear that. But these kids have done it, but at the end of the day, it's also okay that you're not balling it in your 20s. Hardly any of us really were. It's okay if you're not balling in your 30s. VladTV started when I was almost 40. I was like, let me see. I was 35 when I launched VladTV. 35. And I'm still doing the same thing.
And it wasn't truly successful till how old?
Maybe 3 years later. First year I was scraping by. The reason why you see me behind the camera is because I was holding the camera, because I couldn't afford a cameraman. I had to teach myself how to film. I had to teach myself how to edit. Taught myself how to use YouTube, would upload, edit, do the descriptions, email blast, next day start over again. It takes a while. Everyone thought I was stupid for even doing it because there was no money in it at that time. And it took a few years to kind of get it rolling off the ground. I mean, the first viral clip, I think, was the whole Joe Budden ransom situation, and then after that, you keep going. But most millionaires are in their 50s. That's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
You're not Chris Brown. You're not LeBron James. Some people are born with freakish abilities. Most of us are not. Most of us actually have to work hard and figure it out.
Figure it out. Sometimes the slow and steady road is the better. That's the better road.
That's what it is. Lord Jamar, 5 years later.
Vlad.
People aren't ready for this. People are not ready for this, but it happened, and I think it's going to happen again.
I think some people are going to love it and some people are going to hate it.
And that's okay. That's what I've realized over time. I almost consider myself the Vince McMahon of hip hop, where it's like, I have so many haters, but the haters is what drives it all. Like you need the haters. I used to block the haters. I don't block the haters anymore. You need them because there's the haters and the fans, and sometimes they flip-flop from side to side.
Yes, they do flip-flop from side to side. I used to have people that, I hate you, and then, I can't front after, I started to like you, but...
Yeah.
And then I had people that used to love me, and now they fucking act like they hate me.
So final question.
Yeah.
I got to ask this before you leave. what are you going to say to all the people that say, yo, you're not standing on code? You said you'll never go back to Vlad TV, and here you are today.
First of all, motherfucker, I always been on code. First of all, I don't think I ever say never. I said I'm not going back on, but I don't think I ever say never say never. Okay? And yeah, circumstances change. And like I said, I can't live for what people think about. You know what I mean? Think about me in their mind. They're gonna think whatever the fuck they want to think about me. Yeah. When you go through when people try to cancel you and all this type of shit, which happened to me too.
Over the Kamala Harris thing?
Several things, bro. But yeah, it all, you know what I mean? People were coming at me. They didn't like a lot of shit that I was doing. They didn't like that. Yeah, I was going at Kamala, that I supported Trump, all kinds of shit. And yeah, I've just seen people just be real flip-floppy. You know what I mean? And ignore what you've done in the past and shit like that. Like really, all this shit, all the work I've done, but now you just, you know what I mean? You're gonna take this and think you're gonna run with this, or you try to kick a motherfucker when they down and all this type of shit. Okay, I see what's going on. You know what I mean? And sometimes you need adversity because it allows you to see certain things for what they really are, and certain people, you know, will reveal themselves, and you know, yeah, you need that every once in a while, a good cleansing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, listen, it was interesting to see during that whole cancel period, people really say what they had been wanting to say for a long time. Both positive and negative. You know, the grass was cut. I got to see how people reacted. I got to see how many people went below the belt. I got to see how many people actually stayed, you know, solid. And yeah, man, it was an interesting time, and you also get to see how what happens over the course of time, how things seem really bad in the beginning, but the next day, things slowly kind of start getting back to normal, and you got to just muscle through it.
This too shall pass. All
this too shall
storms
pass.
Shall pass.
This too shall pass, and I'm not mad that it happened, but I am glad that I did do the apology. I don't think this would have happened without the apology. Just knowing who you are. Yeah, and that's cool. And look, like, I went into this, like, if you look at the early part of my interview with Willie D, I said, I know some people are going to accept it, but a lot of people are going to say, fuck you and your apology. And that's cool. I get that. And that's fine, because I've seen a lot of fuck your apology videos from various people. I mean, including you in the beginning. You know, but for example, like, I got a call from Killer Mike that next day and said, hey, bro, I really admire you for doing that. And me and Mike have kind of kept in contact this whole time. He's like, yo, I really admire you because I never told you, but I have a lot of people that I'm close to that are, you know, with the NOI, and I always felt a little weird with us, you know, because of that. But you doing that means a lot. And I'm like, oh shit, Killer Mike, the Grammy-winning Killer Mike, who does tours with Dave Chappelle and creates really dope music, just called me out the blue to tell me that. I'm like, wow, like that made it all worthwhile. Like that phone call. I thought that was dope. And a few people in my personal life who aren't famous hit me up. I was like, yo, man, you didn't have to do that. That was dope. You know? And I'm glad I did it. And I think this is one of the...
I think a lot of people are glad you did it.
Yeah.
I mean, better late than never. And yeah, I hope you know, if a lesson was learned from it, then that's a good thing.
Yeah, and part of the reason I did it also, and the timing of it was important, because I feel that there is such a discourse between Jews, Muslims, and the groups that support each of these two groups. that rarely do you see a person on either side saying, you know something, I was wrong, and hopefully this will create more dialogue between these two groups that historically have not gotten along very well. That me humbling myself and saying, yeah, I made a mistake in regards to this person, and hopefully this will trigger other similar type situations from both sides where both parties are, you know something, maybe I was taking too stiff of an approach to how I'm dealing with this type of thing. Because even if you saw me on, when I was on Pierce Morgan, and it was like a panel of mostly Jewish people and like one Muslim guy, and Sharon Osbourne was on that. And she was like going nuts about everything. It was this group called Kneecap who had like some kind of anti-Israel lyrics at Coachella, and people were kind of upset about it. I guess their visa got revoked and shit like that.
Okay.
And I'm like, everyone's like so angry, but there's like one Muslim dude that's trying to defend himself, and I'm like, I don't like this. Like, this is not what I'm trying to portray here. I was the one voice that was saying like, like I don't support, like both parties are wrong right now in this conflict. Israel's wrong for their heavy-handed approach, and Hamas is wrong for essentially, imagine if suddenly 1,000 people opened fire at Coachella and kidnapped a few hundred people in the process. Like, that's what happened in Israel. See what I'm saying? You can't justify that either. But you also can't justify bombing where kids are getting killed and so forth. Like, both parties are wrong, and there needs to be some degree of flexibility with everyone to be able to say that, because having a hardline approach has not worked. Has not worked. What has it accomplished? You know what I'm saying?
Nothing but starting to make them look like the same people that they were crying about during the Holocaust. Because a lot of the shit that the Jewish people, that the Jewish military specifically is doing is very similar to what the Nazis were doing.
I don't agree in that regard, because it's a war as opposed to...
It was a war back then!
But there was not a war against the Jews. The Jews were the citizens that were being...
And these people are citizens. These are not combatants that are being bombed and all of that type of shit.
I see where you're going.
What I'm saying
I think you have somewhat of a point.
They're coming very militaristic, right?
Yeah, I see where you're going with this.
Israel is very, they're like the leading with like military technology and all of this type of shit, and they're very proud of their fucking army and Krav Maga and all this fucking shit. And what I'm saying is, there's a very slippery slope, people. You gotta be careful, because things slide. You don't want to become the same people that you felt was persecuting you. You don't want to now be the persecutors.
Yeah, and unfortunately in life that happens way too often. Unfortunately, people, and I've seen this over and over again, people with childhood trauma that never address it will turn around and become the abusers that they were subject to when they were young, because they didn't want to deal with it, and they never accepted it, and they don't want to go to therapy and so forth. And suddenly you create a whole cycle. And I don't like what Israel's doing. I don't like the way they're approaching it. I don't like what Hamas has done. And unfortunately, there are religious issues that are preventing people from just compromising and talking it out. So here we are. Israel and Palestine have been at war since I've been alive, probably since you've been alive. There's never really been a time of prolonged peace. It's always been fucked up. At the end of the day, I've said that I respect what Farrakhan has done.
Well, I feel like
I just want to say this.
Yeah, go ahead.
I respect what Farrakhan has done. I respect what the Nation of Islam has done. I think that they have accomplished a lot of great things. Just like every other group, I'm not going to agree with every single thing that they did, but you can't just say, well, because of this one little thing or this one even big thing, I'm going to throw away everything else. At the end of the day, Farrakhan and the Anti-Defamation League have never gotten along. There's never been a conversation. There's never been something that ultimately has benefited all the parties involved. And what I'm hoping is that as a prominent Jewish person in hip hop, and I'm one of the most prominent Jewish people in hip hop, that me putting something like this out will, me apologizing, me taking responsibility, me not blaming anybody else and making excuses, or I'm sorry, but no, it's just, I'm sorry, will hopefully create more of a peaceful dialogue and more of a flexibility and more of a compromise. Because I don't think anyone really wants to be in constant conflict. Doesn't benefit anybody. And this is an example, you know what I'm saying? Like, you and I not rocking with each other for 5 years, I lost and you lost. And I respect you reaching out first and making this happen. And, this will be the first of many.
No doubt, Vlad.
It's what it is. Peace.
Yes, peace.